Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the start of our respective two finals for each of the categories. Rounds 5 and 6 for KZ2, rounds 7 and 8 for Junior TKM, TKM Extreme and the Honda Cadet Cup. But first things first, as we did in Rissington a few months ago, we're going to get the action underway here with the impressive pace and performance that is KZ2. Green flag is shown to the pre-grid, and out they roar. KZ2 about to get underway here at Shenington. And I tell you what, you're in for a treat if you're listening at home. You should be here to see it and believe it. In terms of the championship standings, Adam Glear leads Dan Kelly by just 10 points coming into this round. But the person that was pretty much untouchable yesterday was the number 25 from Jade Racing Team, Scott Allen, who was over 0.7 of a second quicker than anybody and absolutely hooked it up. So let's see whether he can continue that form into what is a very different set of conditions here today. Still 16 degrees, still dry, but this time we use the full gearbox variation of Shenington Kart Racing Club circuit, 1,211 metres. They now go on to the formation lap here. So we'll find out very, very shortly who is going to come out on top in KZ2. And whilst the finals are going on, I'll be able to keep an eye on what is the virtual championship standing, so it'll give us an indication of who is where. Looks like James Glenister and Scott Allen will be on the front row, 77 and 25. Adam Glear and Tom Longfield, row 2. Miles Murphy and Shane Daly, row 3. Adam Rustling, Dan Kelly, row 4. Completing the top 10, it's going to be Matt Sherwin and Ashley Lewis, followed by Lee Ward, Lee Hasler, Craig Mooney, Dan Arlott, Oliver Gemmell, Ryan Dones, Greg Dickens, Daniel Gould. Looks like Hannah Lang's got a wish, and it's a dry day here at Shenington. Nicholas Jenkins and Anderson Chilcott round out the order. So they are now getting into position. This is the only championship that has a non-specific engine supplier, but still has to conform to the current regulations as per the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. So with Vortex, TM, and IAMI also being along those power plants that are used in KZ2. This is one of the most aggressive karts that you can drive currently in the modern day age of karting. So finals action about to get underway here with KZ2 kicking things off once again. Let's see what happens. The engines are revving on the starting line. Lights out, and off we go into Park Bend for the very first time. Great move there from now. Let's see who's come through into the lead. It's Scott Allen. Allen's already got the whole shot, and Tom Longfield in the 17 has gone with Adam Glear down into 4th position already behind James Glenister as they head down, blast their way down towards the furthest part of the track, down to Stratford. Scott Allen getting a great whole shot. Remember when he mugged Fabian Federer back at Rissington at final number 2, caught him napping, as did Adam Glear. But look at the advantage Scott Allen has already got as they head into the Bruno chicane for the very first time. Everyone's trying to get through there nice and cleanly. These conditions might help Hannah Lang in trying to move up the order. She's already made up 1 place, and we've not even completed the very first lap of this encounter. 14 minutes 15 plus an additional lap to go. Second sector's fastest. That's Scott Allen, who's just gone and put a 20.1, and his lead now over the number 77 of James Glenister is 0.65 and possibly climbing. Bit of side-by-side there between Adam Rustling. Looks to be also Matt Sherwin, maybe. Heading into Pitts Bend as they blast back down to Stratford. Allen is comfortably extending the lead, and we are only on lap 2 thus far. They come down, thread their way through the Bruno chicane, quickly dab on the brakes. Right, left, right onto the hanger straight, blast their way down to the hanger corner. And there's been quite a few changes at the moment. Adam Glear down into 4th place. Ashley Lewis out of the top 10, having been passed by Craig Mooney, who made up 3 places on that last lap. They're about to complete lap number 2. Allen leads, 0.6 of a second advantage to him, ahead of James Glenister. Then it's the 41 of Shane Daly. Adam Glear still sitting station in 4th position. A little bit further back, it's Miles Murphy. Rounding out the top 5, then it's Dan Kelly, Adam Rustling, Lee Ward, Matt Sherwin, Craig Mooney. They head down towards Stratford. And is there going to be a move for second position? Not quite yet. Looks like Daly had eyes on getting past Glenister going into the Bruno chicane, but did not have the pull. This has allowed Adam Glear to close up on the back of those two, battling over second and third position. Meanwhile, looks like Hannah Lang's also made up another couple of positions. I think she's now in 16th position, having got past Daniel Gould on that last tour. Leaders coming through Wilkins. They are averaging laps of around about 45.64 seconds. And the gap now has been somewhat truncated, but not by much, nearly a tenth, as Glenister chops into the lead of Scott Allen. And is that going to be a move from Daly up the inside to take second? Through Stratford, that looks to be the case. He's made the move done before the apex has even been hit. So Daly up into second, past Glenister. A very clean and classy move there from the number 41. So everyone's still circulating on track at the moment. The full order at the minute. Scott Allen is leading. Shane Daly now up into second position. James Glenister down into third, ahead of Adam Glear. And the lead now is still around about 0.5 of half a second. As Daly really being hustled now by Glenister, who wants to go back. Oh, there's been a collision. Tom Longfield is 90 degrees the wrong way, and he rejoins. So Longfield span out a little bit there at Cafe Corner. And that puts him right down to the back of the order. He was getting up as high as 12th position. He'd leapt up into second place behind Scott Allen at the start. So the number 17, one of the privateer entries, having to move his way back up the order again. Meanwhile, Hannah Lang is absolutely flying at the moment. She's currently racing the Deutsche Kartmeisterschaft, the DKM, and she's heading to Genk next week. But she's here, and I think she's probably getting in towards the top 15, maybe even to the top 12. Lee Ward's got past Adam Rustling. And that is for 7th position. Hannah Lang now up into 13th place, closing on Dan Arlott, who's currently 12th at the minute. As she's got past Anderson Shilcott, who's also made up from stone dead last, 21st, up to 14th place. The action is very fast-paced in KZ2. But Scott Allen still controlling proceedings in the first final of the weekend. So top 10 at the moment. Scott Allen leads. Shane Daly in the 41, still in second, ahead of James Glenister. Adam Glear is going to get a good amount of points here. But where is he now? No, he's been passed by Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly, the number 1, has got past Adam Glear. So that's really going to change things at the moment. And in terms of this, Kelly will close the gap by 1 point only, as Glear currently leads in the virtual championship standings up to 309 points. Tom Longfield, at the meantime, would actually drop all the way down to 10th at the minute. Now, where is Tom at the moment? Still in 20th position, and he started in 4th place. A real shame for the number 17, who was on the podium back at Rissington a couple of months ago. But the battle is still kicking off well and truly at the front. 9 minutes 42 plus an additional lap. Scott Allen continues to lead. The 25 from Jade Racing. I don't think he's going to have it all his own way, because the gap's gone way down to 0.24 of a second, as Shane Daly has really opened up the taps on the number 41 as they blast their way down to Stratford. So Tom Longfield now up into 19th position. Leaders coming through towards the Bruno chicane. Daly is closing on Scott Allen, as is James Glenister. Dan Kelly, Adam Glear now down into 5th position. Hannah Lang's now still in 13th behind Dan Arlott, as Matt Sherwin and Adam Rustling trade places. They're now battling over 8th place at the minute. So the KZ2 contingent flood their way through Wilkins, through the S-bend, as Scott Allen really has now got a little bit more of a gap, a little bit more of daylight between himself and Shane Daly in the battle for the lead of the first final. As looks like there could be a change for third, maybe. Has Dan Kelly made the move on James Glenister? I'll find out when they come through into the Bruno chicane. That looks to be the case, as well as Adam Glear. So James Glenister through Stratford has lost 2 places to the number 1 and the number 2 drivers. That's Dan Kelly and Adam Gleer. So they now go up to third and fourth, respectively. Now, I'm just wondering if that's being investigated. So, at the moment, Adam Gleer really trying to keep close to both Shane Daly and Dan Kelly. Kelly being his closest protagonist. And at the moment, if the way things finish as they are, it could be that the gap between Gleer and Kelly will still be 9 points. Heading into final number 2 a bit later on this afternoon. They flood their way through the Bruno chicane, power out of the corner, head down towards the Hanger Straight. So Dan Kelly at the moment started in 8th position, now up into 3rd as the number 1, so that's great going. Ashley Lewis moves down into 11th position. Hasn't really changed, but Tom Longfield trying to mount some form of recovery. It's not going to be easy for the number 17 in final number 2 a bit later on. However, it could change everything in terms of how he gets on over the next 7 minutes, 8 seconds plus an additional lap. So we are past the halfway stage of this first of 2 KZ2 finals. Leaders are flying their way down into the Bruno chicane. Scott Allen still continues to lead. Shane Daly still hustling the number 25 from Jade Racing. So Daly, one of the privateers here. Then it's Andy Fairless Racing's Dan Kelly. Still very much in the hunt, as is Adam Gleer. But I tell you what, it's very difficult to call what is going to happen over the next 6 minutes, 37 seconds, plus an additional lap. Allen's lead is now only just 0.2 of a second, as Daly is really just measuring. And with these KZ2 karts, if you push them too hard too quickly, you will get severe tyre degradation, and that could compromise your strategy in the race itself. As Hannah Lang is very much closing on the back bumper of Dan Arlott, going through Pitts Bend, heading towards Paddock, towards Stratford. Now, has she made the move up the inside? Might have done so. I'll find out very shortly. But the lead has changed. Daly's through on Allen. Daly is through on Allen. So number 41 now gets a little bit of gap between himself, and has the move happened between Arlott and Lang? It has. Hannah Lang now up into 12th position. So that's an increase of 7 places, starting from 20th. Shane Daly now leads Scott Allen to the tune of about 0.2, but Allen will not let him out of his sights. Kelly and Gleer still holding station. They've got the ringside seat, heading towards Stratford. Could Allen put it up the inside of Daly, going through into Stratford? Don't think so quite yet, but they're streaming their way down back towards the Bruno chicane once again. No, didn't make the move happen. But in the meantime, James Glenister has also closed up, as well as Miles Murphy might have also had that opportunity. So, just over 5 minutes plus an additional lap in this first KZ2 final here at Shenington. This is round 5 of their championship. Their 6th race of the season will be a little bit later on this afternoon, but it looks like there has been a change. Scott Allen back in the lead, but what? Well, hang on a minute. Shane Daly, was that him pulling into the pits? That is. That's been confirmed. Shane Daly might have had a mechanical problem there, which has forced the number 41 to pull out of the race. So Scott Allen now has been the recipient of the lead back once again, but then it's between Adam Gleer and Dan Kelly over 2nd and 3rd. James Glenister in 4th. This will promote everyone else up a place, and Hannah Lang is very close to being in the top 10 as a direct result. So we've had Dan Arlott and Shane Daly both pull into the pits, as Gleer now seizes the advantage and has got past title rival Kelly. That's now extended the gap to 12 points between them. Glenister, he's in 4th at the moment. This will put him 3rd in the standings on 288. Scott Allen, with this, he could be very, very close to the top 4 in the top 3 in the standings. It will put him up on 283 points, as he now has a very comfortable lead. It's around 0.3 of a second thus far between himself and Adam Gleer. But Adam Gleer was also very, very feisty, very, very competitive back at Rissington when the season began in earnest for KZ2. Tom Longfield now recovers up to hit the top 15. The number 17 is now up into 15th position, based out of Worcester. But Scott Allen not having it all his own way. Adam Gleer right behind him in the number 2. They head down towards Stratford, down the long straightaway. Glear, I don't think, may chance the move quite yet. No, stays in behind Scott Allen. But let's see what the momentum's going to do in terms of the carry down towards the Bruno chicane. I have seen people dart up the inside. And it looks like Dan Kelly really is pressurising Adam Glear into a mistake as well. Not quite happening from the number 2. If that's going to happen at any point. They head through Wilkins, top 3, pretty much line astern, but Scott Allen has got a little bit of daylight, probably about 2 or 3 car lengths between himself and the 3 behind. No, well actually the top 2 have started to break away ever so slightly, but in KZ2 classification that's pretty much nothing with the top speeds that these karts can go up to. They're pushing normally over the national speed limit here in the UK. So Scott Allen continues his lead at the front of the field as Tom Longfield definitely getting very racy. He's up another 2 positions. He's closing on Anderson Chilcott for 12th place. This could be a great recovery drive from the number 17. But Scott Allen still leads. And at the moment, a little bit further back. Just keeping an eye on. So Ryan Dones and Lee Hasler complete the top 15. Leaders coming through to complete lap number 17 of the first of 2 KZ2 finals here at Shenington. Scott Allen is holding on as best he can. And is keeping Adam Glear at bay. Dan Kelly and James Glenister have the ringside seat. Let's see what Miles Murphy has been up to. He hasn't been as quick as the top 4, so he's not closing the gap at the moment. As there was nearly a positional change on for James Glenister, but he couldn't get through past the number 1 of Dan Kelly. Heading through the Bruno chicane, top 4, line astern. So as they go down the gears, hit the brakes, turn in, and power their way out of the Bruno chicane. They've now gone through, as I said that, they've just gone through Wilkins. So we're getting into the final stage of this first of 2 KZ2 finals. Round 5 of the championship season. Scott Allen is doing a fantastic job controlling things at the front. Adam Glear really hasn't found a way past the Jade Racing Team driver in his number 2 chassis. So it will be a case of what is Adam Glear going to do? Is he going to force it going into the Bruno chicane? Oh, nice close off there from Scott Allen. That was timed to absolute perfection. Waited for the last minute, knew Glear was there and went, right, I am shutting the door, and firmly made his intentions clear there. He definitely said to Adam Glear, you are not getting past. There's 36 seconds plus an additional lap to go. And it is going to be very interesting how it develops as it goes into the business end of this first final. The top 4, line astern. Scott Allen leads from Adam Glear, Dan Kelly, James Glenister. They go up to Stratford. And I tell you what, Adam Glear is using every trick in the book to try and get past Scott Allen. But could this open the door for Dan Kelly? The pair nearly are side by side, heading to the Bruno chicane. It's nearly 3 abreast. Here we go. What's going to happen now? Oh, Glear manages to keep Kelly at bay going through the Bruno chicane. Time's now going to expire. So time has expired. This time it will be the final lap of the race. So, last lap board shown to Scott Allen. He's got less than a lap to go, less than about 1,000 metres to hang on what could be a defining victory in his championship push after several disasters, several mechanical dramas in previous rounds. So they go through Stratford. Has the move happened for 3rd place? Because it's side by side between 3rd and 4th. And I tell you what, Miles Murphy really coming into this at the end of it. And Dan Kelly has lost out to James Glenister heading into the Bruno chicane. The pair was side by side coming out of Stratford. They head through Wilkins. Has it been enough? Has Scott Allen done enough to keep Adam Glear at bay to take the victory? He has, by just 0.2 of a second. Scott Allen from the Jade Racing Team in the number 25. Now, these results are all provisional, pending any sporting and scrutineering inspections post-race. Scott Allen takes the first win here at Shenington for KZ2, putting him up to 4th in the standings. Adam Glear continues to consolidate a championship lead in 2nd, by 13 points ahead of Dan Kelly, who finished 4th behind James Glenister. Miles Murphy took 5th ahead of Matt Sherwin, Adam Russling, Lee Ward, Wayne Mooney and Ashley Lewis rounding out the top 10. Hannah Lang made her way up from 19th to 11th at the flag after making up some good headway in the first few laps of this race. Anderson Chilcott in 13th behind Tom Longfield, who recovered from that spin. Well, I really didn't see it under my commentary position because on the apex I have to try and look at one side of the barrier or the other. And he, I don't know whether someone collected him, but he got spat out 90 degrees to the right-hand side. And he eventually would recover back through his pace to finish 12th. Lee Hasler and Ryan Dones round out the top 15. Nicholas Jenkins started 20th and finished in 16th. Greg Dickens in 17th, with Daniel Gould and Oliver Gemmell rounding out the 19 that completed all 21 laps. And we had two retirements, unfortunately. Shane Daly ending his race through a mechanical, I believe, on a roundabout with lap 13, as we had the same fate possibly befell Dan Arlott. So, KZ2, final number 1, that's race 13 of the meeting. Scott Allen looks to consolidate some good points here to put his championship push into full effect on the penultimate round weekend of the season. So, for those listening on Downforce Radio, we're currently not live on the PA at the minute, but it has been an interesting development with KZ2, with Scott Allen taking a win this afternoon to consolidate some good points. So he'll get the maximum of 65. Adam Clear will still have 62 to his credit after that particular race, with the matter of fact that all the KZ2 drivers are now going through post-race scrutineering checks. Any incidents that may have been caught on the eyes of race control will be investigated post-race. So, as I say, these results are all provisional thus far. So, one final down of 2 for KZ2, one final of 8 completed for the finals here this afternoon. For those listening on Downforce Radio, thank you for tuning in. This will be available free of charge to download post-race weekend, and also there will be the highlights from Tunafish Media Limited throughout next week. It's been a busy time for the Motorsport UK Championships, British Kart Championships. We've had Scott Woodwiss on the microphone at Rowra quite recently for the recent trip for Iami. Then we had GYG last weekend with Henry Baudet running, our commentator down at Glanny-Gors for Rotax, and with myself here at Shenington for Junior TKM, TKM Extreme, Honda and KZ2. It's going to be a very, very busy time. We still have plenty of time left in these championships to run, and it's been a pleasure and a privilege as always to be a part of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. For those at home, if you're wondering what is happening next for the championships itself, I'll just give you a rundown. On the Rotax calendar, the Rotax Championship will head to Clay Pigeon in Dorset for the 17th and the 18th of August 2019, with their season concluding at Forest Edge in Hampshire on the 14th and 15th of September in 2019. Iami, their next trip will be to Three Sisters Circuit in Wigan in Lancashire on the 23rd and 25th of August 2019. And then their season concludes on the last weekend of September, the 27th to the 29th September 2019 at Wilton Mill in Daventry. TKM and Honda. Shenington is currently the fourth of 6 race weekends of the championship. Kimbolton is the next step on the calendar in Cambridgeshire, 7th and 8th of September, before the season concludes on the 19th and 20th of October at Wilton Mill in Northamptonshire. KZ2, this is the penultimate weekend of the season, and then their season concludes also when TKM and Honda have their penultimate round of the race weekend of the season on the 7th and the 8th of September 2019. So, next up, we have our first of 2 junior TKM finals. And I have to say, looking back at the highlights from Final 2, what a great amount of work that we've seen over the last few rounds. Louis Harvey, Zach Oates, and Ben Watson putting on such a show for the crowds that were at Fullbeck, with Watson taking the win. But in the meantime, the championship standings are as follows. Zach Oates currently leads the standings on 378 points, with Oliver Stewart from Jade Racing, the number 17 from Scotland, rounds out the top 2. Louis Harvey now up into third place, ahead of Harry Yardley-Rose. So, it looks to be that Zach Oates and Oliver Stewart will kick things off at the front row, ahead of Harry Yardley-Rose and Louis Harvey. Jensen Davis and Oliver Richardson. That completes row number 3, ahead of Zach Taylor, Will Howells, Ben Watson, Jack Saunders, Spencer Lane, Scott Smith, James Barty, Charlie Webb, Ben Cox, Harvey Cole, Josh Raystrick, Harvey Roth, who was in the trenches and also had a penalty at Fullbeck, if memory serves me correctly, Morgan Kidd, Jack Nicholson, Dominic Kilmister, Dominic Roberts, Harry Wainwright, Finley Saunders, Jacob Hodgkiss, Matt Marsh, Joe Harrison, Tom Johnson, Lewis Mackey, Cian Bennett, Theo Tibbets, Daniel Gazal, and Ben Higgins, rounding out the top. Well, rounding out the running order. With TKM Extreme and Junior TKM, it will be a 2x2 rolling start formation. If they are given the green light, we will go racing for the first time. Lights out, off we go into turn 1. Oh, there's a bit of a clash already, and who is that that's gone wide? As Harry Yardley-Rose has taken the lead of the race, Zach Oates gesticulating, he was compromised. Now, I don't know whether there's a bit of a clash between him and Oliver Stewart. Not too sure if that's going to be investigated post-race, as the entire field, it's nearly 3 abreast heading into Stratford for the very first time. But the leader at the moment looks to be the number 19 of Harry Yardley-Rose. He was very, very strong at Rissington. Had a bit of a difficult weekend at Fullbeck, as they are literally tripping all over each other through the Bruno chicane. 3 abreast, more drivers gesticulating. This is getting very, very convoluted very, very quickly, as the leaders come through to complete lap number 1 very, very shortly. And at the moment, Harry Yardley-Rose has a clear advantage over the number 17 of Oliver Stewart. So, Harry Yardley-Rose, Oliver Stewart, they are the 2 leaders at the moment. I think that Oliver Richardson looks to be in third position at the moment, but there has been a lot of changes up and down the order. Zach Oates definitely has been compromised going into turn 1. So, Yardley-Rose is getting caught by the driver second in the championship at the moment. So there is a kart off of the inside of the exit of Stratford Hairpin. Looks to be Lewis Mackey, maybe. That could be the case. That was on the very first lap. So everything became a carambolage heading into Park Bend for the very first time, but Zach Oates now trying to resurge back. He's dropped from pole up to 7th position as the English champion. Spencer Lane is behind him in 8th, ahead of Ben Watson and Jack Saunders. But Yardy Rose continues to lead, but by a fraction, as Stewart from Jade Racing is trying to close him down. The two behind, that's Oliver Richardson and Will Howells. Howells has shown a really good turn of pace. Then it's Zach Oates, who's got past both Taylor and Jensen Davis for position. Spencer Lane, Ben Watson, Jack Saunders. Louis Harvey all the way down in 15th. He's dropped all the way down from when he started on 4th position, so he's going to need to mount a recovery drive. This is going to change the dynamic of the championship. Harvey at the moment will still, as it stands, Louis Harvey still remains in 3rd position on the virtual championship standings, but the gap between Oates and Stewart, I think just jumps, well, literally gets truncated by about 4 points down to 14. Leaders coming across the start-finish line. Yardy, Rose and Stewart still pulling a gap over those battling over 3rd position. And a nice move up the inside of Will Howells from the English plate champion, Zach Oates. As Louis Harvey getting very, very feisty behind the back bumper of Josh Raystrick, trying to get past the TWM driver. So can the number 7 get past the number 56 through Stratford? So Cian Bennett also out of this race. So that's 2 drivers. We're down from 33 down to 31. But Yardy Rose and Stewart at the moment are controlling proceedings. They had a gap of about half a second or so in front of Oliver Richardson. Will Howells will now have to see if he can get past Zach Oates for position. But Oates is having none of it and has sent it up the inside of Richardson going through into Park Bend and makes the move stick by Cafe Corner. As Louis Harvey now back has got past Josh Raystrick, and then we'll have to try and close the gap onto the likes of Josh Raystrick, Scott Smith, James Barty and Jack Saunders. There's been a couple of warning flags, one of which is for the number 43 of Jack Nicholson, then also the number 47 of Daniel Gonzalez also received a warning flag. So Oates now up into 3rd. This is really going to help his chances. It's going to extend the gap a little bit further and probably get it quite close to the 18 points advantage that he had earlier on coming into this weekend. But Yardy Rose still holding station in the front, trying to control proceedings. But I tell you what, Oliver Stewart is looking incredibly feisty. The young Scot is going to try and get past him. Could he make the move going into Stratford? Looks to be a change for 7th position, maybe. That looks to be 6th. So that could have been Charlie Webb up the inside of Zach Taylor going through Stratford. Oh, yellow flags, and we got one off into the barriers. One off into the tyres. And that looks to be the number 46 there. And that's Joe Harrison, who is running in 23rd position. So, black and yellow flags being shown at Park Bend. So the entire field must slow. And that looks to be circuit wide. Yep, that is a full course yellow. And I've just seen Jack Saunders on the number 32 try to adjust something on the... Well, he was looking at the right-hand side, the engine side of his kart, and looks to have slapped the top of the airbox in frustration there. Right, okay, looks like we're back under green flag racing conditions here in the first of 2 junior TKM finals. But let's see. Let's wait and see. They haven't released them yet. Will they do so now? They have indeed. They're back under full racing speed here. Yardy Rose. Now Zach Oates really is going to be the danger man here for the first of these 2 finals. He's really closed up. He's actually got it nailed pretty perfectly on the restart, as he's got both Stewart and Yardy Rose up ahead. The trio now head their way into the Bruno chicane. Stewart really now has to make a decision. Is he going to go attack on Yardy Rose for the lead and possibly the victory, or will he really sternly defend against championship protagonist and current points leader Zach Oates as they head through Wilkins? Richardson and Webb battling over 4th and 5th. And that fight is clearly very much not over yet. As Yardy Rose definitely is doing a great job defending at the front of the field. But Oates is trying to look to get past Oliver Stewart. They blast their way up to Stratford. So at the moment, the top 10, it's Yardy Rose from Stewart, Oates, Richardson, Webb, Taylor, Howells, Davis, Lane and Barty. Louis Harvey has recovered up to 12th position as Charlie Webb has got past Oliver Richardson. So that move has now happened. That battle's going to change very, very shortly. But the top three, you cannot separate them whatsoever. As they come through Wilkins onto the final corner, down Park Straight they go to cross the start-finish line. And Oates has got past Stewart. That's a decisive move there. That's extended the virtual championship lead he has up to 20 points. That was a decisive move, if ever I saw one, from Zach Oates. What a job from the English champion. Now he's got one more obstacle to really push a lead that's going to help him heading into Final 2 a bit later on. He's got a gap of 20 points. Could he do a little bit further damage towards Oliver Stewart's championship hunt? As James Barty up into 9th, Ben Watson up into 10th, Louis Harvey top 12 now. He's in 12th position behind Spencer Lane and is closing on the number 11 at the minute. So retirements thus far as Zach Oates is leading. Zach Oates has done 2 decisive moves in 2 successive laps. That puts him on a 23-point advantage. That was a great set of moves from Zach Oates. 2 for 2 on respective laps. So from 3rd now to the lead of the race. 6 minutes and 4. Now he's got to defend from both Yardy Rose and Stewart. 4th place, and this is a great drive from Charlie Webb, up from 14th to 4th position. Oliver Richardson, Zach Taylor, Louis Harvey's now in the top 10. What a recovery from the Clarkson Motorsport on the ARC chassis. The number 7, he's back up into the top 10, having started from 4th and dropped out of the top 15. This is really going to help him too, as this will put him within 40 points of Zach Oates. And I tell you what, it's going to be it's even further than that. Louis Harvey slingshots up in a 9th place. And someone, I think, has just pulled into the pits there, unfortunately. So we could be down to 29 competitors. As Zach Oates and Yardy Rose have got a bit of daylight between themselves and also Oliver Stewart. Charlie Webb in 4th from 14th. James Barty up from 13th to 7th position. But Zach Oates now really wants to get away and break the toe of Harry Yardy Rose in the last 5 or so minutes. But Yardy Rose clearly not giving up without a fight. He wants that race lead back and he wants to take a victory. That's yellow flags. Yellow flags. Kart stopped on the outside heading into paddocks and no overtaking. They're going to also have to slow racing speed there as well. There's a gaggle being led by the 88 of Finley Saunders. That's the battle over 20th. They're really going to have to watch it. They cannot overtake if yellows are being waved. Good awareness by all the drivers to get through paddock without overtaking. They get up to full racing speed to head towards the Bruno chicane. As Finley Saunders just lost out to Jack Nicholson going through the Bruno chicane. So Nicholson on the 43 went up the inside and took it very, very cleanly there. So leaders coming through. Oates still. Yardy Rose is basically sticking to him right now. He is not letting the English plate champion out of his sight. So this is going to be an absolutely dynamite last 3 minutes and 50 seconds plus an additional lap. Louis Harvey up into 8th place. He's only 2/10 away from Will Howells. Well, no, don't even make it that. He's got a 1.3 second gap between himself because he's now up into 7th position. Great recovery drive from Louis Harvey from Clarkson Motorsport. Started in 4th, dropped out of the top 15, up into 7th now. He's got a 1.3 second gap to close on Zach Taylor or thereabouts. We now start lap number 16 here, and Yardy Rose really is hustling. Well, I tell you what, Charlie Webb's just got past Oliver Stewart. Stewart's now losing out big time. Virtual Championship standings. Zach Oates, who leads, is on 443. Oliver Stewart drops down to 419. By my reckoning, that makes it about 24 points differential. So at the minute, the top 10, with 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go, it's Zach Oates, Harry Yardley-Rose, Charlie Webb, Oliver Stewart, Zach Taylor, Oliver Richardson, Louis Harvey, Will Howells, James Barty, Jensen Davis rounding out the top 10. Completing the top 15, it's Harvey Cole, who's gone up from 16th to 11th position. Scott Smith, Ben Watson, Jack Saunders and Spencer Lane. And it looks like we've had an incident between Dominic Kilmister and Daniel Gazal as Zach Oates continues to hold on to the lead. Yardley-Rose waiting for that moment. He's got about 2 minutes and 15 plus an additional lap. So that's about 3 minutes of racing action left to go in this first of two junior TKM finals here at Shenington. So we're down to 28 competitors as we come into the business end. As no, the lead has changed. Yardley-Rose has decided now is the time to strike. Now's the time to get another victory. So Zach Oates is going to do everything he can because that now changes the dynamic. It's going to drop him by another 3 points. The gap will drop to 21 in terms of his championship lead, but extend it by a further 3 going into the second final. Less than 90 seconds to go, plus an additional lap as Louis Harvey trying to close down on Oliver Richardson for a top 6 finish after a disaster at the start where it's a carambolage pretty much all the way through the first half of the lap. Leaders coming through to complete another lap. And I tell you what, Zach Oates was looking incredibly menacing, and he's going to try and go side by side with Harry Yardley-Rose and try and get the momentum in towards the run towards Stratford. 53 seconds plus an additional lap. It's cat and mouse between the two leaders. Yardley-Rose and Oates side by side heading down into the Bruno chicane. Will Oates get it? Oh, not quite. He has to lift off and get out of the way. And this has allowed Charlie Webb to try and get in the mix. Hanger straight and Hanger corner and Wilkins. This is really going to show what's going to happen here. Will Yardley-Rose keep a hold of the lead? I'm not too sure. I don't quite think so. 25 seconds plus an additional lap. Lead is about to cross the start-finish line. This is an absolute dynamite way to end the first final. Yardley-Rose. Now, what has happened? That's Oliver Stewart. What's happened to Oliver Stewart? Has there been an incident? Oliver Stewart, I have not seen him come through the first corner. Charlie Webb, where is he at the moment? Because now that has really changed things. Oh my goodness, there was an incident between Charlie Webb and Oliver Stewart. It took them, that's really, I don't know what happened there, but that has allowed Harry Yardley-Rose. Well, Charlie Webb I think is still circulating. It might very well be the case, but Louis Harvey, could he take top 3? This is an absolutely brilliant drive from the Class of Motorsport driver. We were treated for what his skill set was as Oliver Stewart's just come through. So Stewart might have been involved in an incident through Wilkins or Hanger corner, but I tell you what, it's last lap. Oates now really has an advantage to push his championship lead, which has been extended quite significantly thanks to that incident between Charlie Webb. It's going to be side by side again on the run to the Bruno chicane. I think Yardley-Rose might just have it, or is Oates going to force it? And he goes around the outside onto the inside of that Bruno chicane. Oates just timed that, knew he had the pull alongside, and at the Bruno chicane, what a move from Zach Oates. Another decisive ploy, but will Yardley-Rose do anything about it? He's going to try and think of something at Wilkins. What's going to happen here? The two leaders about to cross the start-finish line to complete the race. Zach Oates wins final number 1. Well done, that man. That was a great battle right to the end. So, Harry Yardley-Rose, that was 0.12 of a second behind. But the incident between, I think, Charlie Webb and Oliver Stewart has changed once again. And in this case, it's quite dramatic. Oliver Stewart drops, virtually speaking. This is, with all results being provisional, pending any sporting and scrutineering checks post-race. Zach Oates wins after a dynamite battle with Harry Yardley-Rose for the win. by 0.12 of a second, having nipped the 19 through round the outside going into the approach of the Brno chicane. Charlie Webb, and it seemed like Oliver Stewart may have come together. Not too sure. Couldn't quite see it out of my commentary position. Louis Harvey, 4th position. He's now 2nd, provisionally speaking, in the championships on 409 points, whereas Zach Oates now has a 30-plus advantage after this race. He's now on 443. Jenson Davis rounds out the top 5, the Welsh driver from Precision Racing. That was a good showing from him. Scott Smith in 6th ahead of James Barty, Zach Taylor, Jack Saunders, Oliver Richardson, Harvey Roth, Ben Watson, Dominic Roberts, Spencer Lane, Josh Raystrick, rounding out the top 15. Morgan Kidd, 16th ahead of Ben Higgins, Matt Marsh, Finley Saunders, and Jack Nicholson rounding out the top 20. Jacob Hodgkiss, Harry Wainwright, Theo Tibbetts, Ben Cox, Harvey Cole, Tom Johnson and Oliver Stewart. What a definite race for him to forget this weekend. The number 17 from Scotland finishes in 27th position. Will Howells, Dominic Kilmister, Daniel Gazal, Joe Harrison, Cian Bennett and Lewis Mackey are the rest of the 33 strong, but unfortunately did not finish the race. So, an explosive start to Junior TKM this weekend here in the finals stage. So, Zach Oates extends a very, very comfortable lead. He's currently on 443 points. And now in second position is Clarkson Motorsports. Louis Harvey, who won 409 points, has a 34-point gap to close up. Oliver Stewart now drops into third position on 396 points. Harry Yardley-Rose, after that second place finish behind that dynamite battle between him and Zach Oates for the win, with Oates pretty much taking it once he'd done the move around the outside of the approach into the Brno chicane. It was too wide coming out of Stratford. What a move from the English plate champion. Louis Harvey is really coming alive this season. I think he's really got a chance to close that gap in the next final. If we can see something from him against Oates, we could have a very, very good repeat of what happened at Fulbeck a few weeks ago. Also, Ben Watson is now fifth in the standings behind Harry Yardley-Rose. He's on 366 points thus far, so he's in fifth. Jack Nicholson, 365. Morgan Kidd down in seventh position. Scott Smith moves up into 8th ahead of James Barty, with Spencer Lane ending up down in 14th after that race, and now that puts him down into equal points with James Barty going into the second final. Junior TKM's second final of the weekend will be at 3:40 p.m. there or thereabouts, but we have the penultimate race of our first set of finals, and that is TKM Extreme, coming up very shortly, with live coverage being provided here on Downforce Radio, the nation's motorsport station, with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, the commentator for this weekend. It's the continuation of the live coverage of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships, round 7 and 8 of TKM and Honda. So that's been and 5 and 6 of KZ2. So I also did hear that they're going to have a look at the number 21's crash helmet, which is Lewis Mackey in Junior TKM. And there's been a couple of incidents which I think will be investigated post-race. Obviously, the clash between Charlie Webb and Oliver Stewart. I know Oliver Stewart will not be happy. That has eroded a big gap to his detriment, because when you look at the standings at the moment, when he's now in third, whereas he was in second before that, he's 47 points to his deficit against Zach Oates. So now it's time for the first of two TKM Extreme finals here. Race 15 of the meeting, and 15 minutes plus an additional lap. Formation lap getting underway here for what is effectively going to be an exciting battle. The two top, there's quite a few drivers at the top. Lee Whittingham had a difficult qualifying. He will start all the way down the order. I'll run through the grid in a moment. Carl Sproat in second position, just 2 points adrift. Then it's a further 4 to Ryan Cole. Adam Sparrow, who I had a good chat with earlier on in the race centre today, he said he's hoping for a bit more luck, and he's hoping that it's going to be a good race weekend. James Pashley, been on form. This is his hope. This is a very good track of his. I spoke with his granddad, who's one of the team here at Shenington. He's fifth at the moment on 335. Chris Whitton had a bit of a difficult weekend at Fullbeck. He needs to get back into the swing of the title championship hunt, the title hunt. He's currently sixth ahead of Matthew Allnut and Sam Fowler. Then we've also got Harry Moore and also James Ogden. But the grid looks to be as follows. James Pashley and Dan McKeown on the front row. Max Goldsmith, Carl Sproat, row 2. Taylor and Cole, row 3. Whitton and Allnut, row 4. Wadley and Sparrow, row 5. Then we've got Sam Fowler, Harry Moore, Aaron Lask, Michael Cornell, Theo Hesketh, Alexander Page, Zach Bowen, Joseph Reeve-Smith, Kai Springfield, Maria Bright, James Ogden, Francis Tonikazigal, Christian Brearley, Archie Strong, Jack Gooden, Ethan Newsham, Lee Whittingham, Ross Steele, Spencer Stevenson, Megan Lawson, Leanna Page, Isaac Marsh, Alexander Lehman and James Buckingham. They're now looking to get into formation. Race director will see if the race is going to be started. Yellow flags at the final corner. Do we go lights out? Yes, we do. And they all head down into Park Bend for the very first time of asking. And Pashley seizes the initial advantage. Sproat trying to get past, he's been forced side by side through Pitts Bend, heading down towards Stratford for the very first time. It is 3 abreast at points. Some drivers really have got to watch the track limits. Oh, and we've got one going very, very wide, and that's caused a major problem from one of the competitors who's gone way down the order. There's 2 wheels actually touching the lower part of the lower part of the grass, just off the racing line. So drivers now coming through into Wilkins as they are about to complete lap number 1 here in the first of 2 TKM Extreme finals. So just waiting for the timing to reset at the moment, but it looks like we have maybe a change for the lead. I'm just waiting for them to come through into Wilkins at the moment. So field making its way through. So Pashley leads from Dan McKeown, and it looks to be that we've got two drivers from Jade Racing Team in second and third position. Just seen the 44 go through past my commentary position. That's Aaron Last trying to get past Harry Moore. Drivers coming through. It is two, nearly even, three abreast heading into the Bruno chicane. It's getting very dicey at the front. Looks like Matthew Taylor might have jumped up into third place past the number 66 of Max Goldsmith. A few other changes as well. So they're heading through. Just apologies for me trying to keep up with the timing side of things. Just waiting for that just to reset at the moment. But it is still James Pashley continuing to lead. Dan McKeown is no longer in second position. He's in fourth place as Matthew Taylor and Max Goldsmith have got past the number 75. And I tell you what, James Pashley, this might be his home track, but he's definitely got a few drivers that are looking very, very feisty behind. So they come through Wilkins. Through to cross the start-finish line once again. Pashley continues to lead. It is now Max Goldsmith that was up in second position. That's been quickly deposed by the 29 of Matthew Taylor. Dan McKeown, Ryan Cole, Carl Sproat, Adam Sparrow up into seventh past. Now Lewis Wadley up into eighth place. Sam Fowler. Let's see where Lee Whittingham is at the moment. He's gone up 4 places up to 23rd. Still has to make some inroads, but this will mean that Whittingham will lose the points lead at the end of this race if things finish as they are. 11 minutes and 27 seconds, plus an additional lap still to go here. But Pashley would move up into second in the standings if things finish as they are right now. Leaders coming through. Pashley no longer in the lead. Taylor now up in front. As very, very feisty work there from Adam Sparrow. Now past Dan McKeown for fourth place. What a great drive from Adam Sparrow. He's currently sitting fourth in the standings and is 2 points behind Ryan Cole. But Cole is behind him on the road at the minute. Could Sparrow really be the danger man in this first final? Sparrow's just set the fastest second sector of anybody. And at the moment, so Taylor leads, Pashley from McKeown, Goldsmith, Sparrow, Cole, Sproat, Bowen, Fowler, Wadley, Allnut, Page, Chris Whitton, all the way down in 13th position. And that is going to put him 6th in the standings on a virtual championship side of things, as the number 75 of Dan McKeown definitely getting very, very feisty behind James Pashley. Lewis Wadley really hustling the back of Alexander Page. So Wadley looks to have dropped down a couple of places there, by my reckoning. But it is Matthew Taylor in the 29 that leads at the moment, and that is from the number 75 of Dan McKeown. Adam Sparrow looks to be up into fourth place. So there's been a major change here. Chris Whitton, Zach Bowen and James Ogden have dropped down, way down to the bottom of the field, as the leaders are coming through on the exit of Wilkins, heading down Park Straight to come into Park Bend. And it's definitely getting really, really hot and heated at the front of the field. Max Goldsmith rounds out the top 5. Lewis Wadley is in the top 10. That's really helped his championship hunts, as Zach Bowen and James Ogden have pulled it into the pit. Well, they're not taking any further part in this race. Chris Whitton, that's a disaster in terms of his championship attack, as it's definitely changes aplenty. Has there been a change for second? Looks like that move was done through the Bruno chicane there on the exit part of it. So Matthew Taylor, I'm going to see and keep an eye off on whether he is leading, as they will come through Park Bend very, very quickly. So they come across the start-finish line to complete another lap. And, well, that's definitely changed quite dramatically because the number 29 is no longer in the lead of this race. Dan McKeown is leading, Pashley second, Goldsmith third, Taylor is in fourth, well, maybe even make that fifth. As I tell you what, that was very, very close between numbers 4 and 11. That's Tony Casagal and Joseph Reeve-Smith heading through Pitts Bend, heading on to Stratford. So, Zach Bowen and James Ogden pretty much to, well, Chris Whitton's been given a mechanical black flag. That's a real damage for him. I think he's just pulled that in, so that's a real shame for Chris Whitton. His race over there with being a lap down on the leaders, but it is absolutely kicking off at the front of the field. And now in the lead, it is the number 66 of Max Goldsmith. Number 75, Dan McKeown, looks to be in second position. James Pashley might be in third there, but I think his number plate on the rear back bumper has been somewhat rotated slightly. Might have been a little bit of contact there, not too sure. Adam Sparrow in fourth, Ryan Cole, Matthew Taylor, Carl Sproat, Alexander Page, Lewis Wadley now up into ninth place. And it is going to be a battle for around about 7 karts for the victory here. As we fast approach the half-time in terms of the time of clocking down, it is now 7 minutes 30 plus an additional lap to go. So Goldsmith leading from McKeown. Sparrow up into third past Pashley. And at the moment, that's really helping Sparrow's title hopes quite significantly there. He's up into third, but it's only 4 points off of Carl Sproat. If he can extend the gap and maybe even challenge for the victory, he could be the virtual championship leader come the end of this final. So at the moment it is still Goldsmith, McKeown, Sparrow, or has Sparrow actually got up into second? I can't really see at the moment because they're all heading down the Hanger straight through into Hanger corner. And that is Chris Whitton. And that is a very, very mangled rear bumper for the number 2. So, and Adam Sparrow is in second position. This means he is closing on the current points leader. So Sparrow now is, that's really interesting. It's 2 points. If he gets into the lead and Sproat stays where he is, because Sproat is effectively 2.5 tenths behind Ryan Cole, who's currently in 6th position. Because it's a win, that's 65 points. If it's second position, it's 62. But if Adam Sparrow gets past Max Goldsmith imminently, he will take the virtual championship lead. So let's see if it has happened. Not quite yet, but Sparrow's going to have the run on Goldsmith heading down into Stratford. But just up ahead, they've got Chris Whitton. Looks like there's a move for, that could be Matthew Taylor on Ryan Cole there for position. So leaders have come through. Sparrow really hustling Goldsmith now for the lead of this race. So at the minute, Sproat, Cole, Sparrow. Well, Cole is pretty much, he's gone past Matthew Taylor, so that basically puts him on level peggings. But if Sparrow makes the move for the lead past Max Goldsmith, which hasn't yet happened, but there is a little bit of argy-bargy between the those at the top. And I tell you what, that was a little bit of a hand gesture there. Yellow flags at Stratford. So there is a kart that has parked up and is not taking any further participation. Not too sure if that might have been Chris Whitton. Let's just have a look. No, he's still circulating. Could be Alexander Lehman that might have retired just then, unfortunately. As Sparrow looks to be behind Goldsmith still as they head down towards Wilkins. So Goldsmith still leads. Sparrow in second. Pashley, McKeown, Taylor. That's the top 5 at the minute. But Sparrow has yet to have that opportunity. Now Ryan Cole has now gone down into 6th position. That's put him in 3rd in the standings. So now it is really, really interesting how the title dynamic will fluctuate to the favour of Adam Sparrow. He needs to make the move. He's got 4 minutes plus an additional lap to do so. Has he made it past? I think he has. That is Adam Sparrow now leading ahead of Max Goldsmith. He got the move done probably after Stratford. So there would have been yellow flags, so we would have been able to get the run of momentum coming out of the corner, put the power down and blast his way past the number 66. So Alexander Lehman was the driver that had retired, but the lead has been retaken by Max Goldsmith. Goldsmith on the 66 from Jade Racing is first. Pashley now up into third place and hustling behind Adam Sparrow. And he is only 5 points away from both Ryan Cole and Adam Sparrow in the title hunt. Sproat, in the meantime, is up to 6 past Dan McKeown. So he has now extended it. So if Sparrow gets past, and he's got past, Pashley's got past, Goldsmith down into third place through the Bruno chicane. That was definitely a bit of muscling their way through there with both Sparrow and Pashley. Taylor's still in fourth, but this now means that Sproat and Sparrow may be tied on points. They cross the start-finish line now. It's even Stevens. And you know what's even more convincing here? He's trying to break away. Sparrow trying to break away, and he's got a gap of over 3.5 tenths of a second between himself and James Pashley. So in terms of the virtual championship standings, it's currently Sparrow, Sproat, Cole, Pashley, and Whittingham. Now, Whittingham at the moment is now up into 17th from 27th position. That's a gain of 10 positions. He's got another 2 minutes and 23 seconds to make more inroads. That could help him. He's only 3 points behind Pashley in the virtual championship standings. But 2 minutes 13 plus an additional lap to go. So, leaders about to come through. They have done now, and Sparrow still leads. But I tell you what, Pashley still in second. Taylor now up into third, past both Max Goldsmith and Ryan Cole. Carl Sproat at the moment still in sixth, and is slightly catching Ryan Cole, but not to the point where it's going to give him another additional point that could put him 1 point ahead of Adam Sparrow going into the second final later on. So, leaders coming through. Sparrow has got a slight lead over Pashley, Taylor and Goldsmith, who are squabbling over second position. But I think Pashley wants to close up to Sparrow and take that lead. And he's definitely doing that through Park Bend, into the right at Cafe Corner. Kyle Sproat has... now, there was someone that went very, very wide. That might have been the 75 there of Dan McKeown. It's gone very, very wide as the field now makes its way up towards Stratford. And it could be very close for third, fourth, fifth, maybe even second, maybe even the lead of this race. And further down at the bottom part of the top 10, they are literally all over each other, trying to get past at some point. But it won't normally happen through the Bruno chicane unless it's a very much committed and putting it planted on the throttle, making sure you hit the apex and brake at the right time. Leaders coming through to complete another lap. And at the moment, it is still... Oh, that's a brazen move from Pashley on Sparrow through Park Bend to take the lead. So the 52 up in the front. That drops Sparrow off of equal peggings with Sproat at the top of the standings. So that's going to drop him down onto 400 points, which will put him level back with Ryan Cole. So now it's going to be a case of what is Adam Sparrow going to do? Because the time is going to expire. It's going to be last lap this time around, as the time is now about to expire right this second. So that's it. Time's up. Penultimate lap it is. They come through Wilkins for the penultimate time. Down Park Straight they will come to cross the finish line. So final lap it is. And I tell you what, Sparrow's not giving up on the lead quite yet. Pashley still in front. Taylor, Goldsmith. Then you've also got the 48 of Ryan Cole. This is really changing things around as Sproat has dropped down behind Dan McKeown. Lead is not going to change coming out of Stratford. But is Sparrow going to try and go for it? He might have a chance at Wilkins. No, he's gone for it. He went for it and nailed it. Pashley's been done round the outside by Matthew Taylor. But Pashley's going to have the inside run going through to Hanger Corner. Yellow flags at Wilkins, so they're not going to be able to overtake. It is going to be a run to the line. Checkered flag out, and it waves for Adam Sparrow. Sparrow takes it and takes the virtual championship standings lead by just 1 point from James Pashley. I think Sparrow, he knew he had a chance, and the yellow flag was saving his bacon as they went through Wilkins. But by 0.15 of a second, Adam Sparrow wins round 7 for TKM Extreme in 2019 and takes the points lead, provisionally standing pending any scrutineering and sporting matters that are being discussed post-race. Sparrow takes the win by 1/10.5 from James Pashley. Matthew Taylor takes third. Max Goldsmith fourth, ahead of Ryan Cole, who rounds out the top 5. Dan McKeown and Carl Sproat round out the top 7. Lewis Wadley finishes in 8th, ahead of Alexander Page and Matthew Ornett, who round out the top 10. Completing the running order, we had 4 retirements. Isaac Marsh, Alexander Lehman, Zach Bowen and James Ogden, with Chris Whitton's race being heavily compromised due to a damaged rear bumper, with the number 2 ending up 31st at the end of it all. James Buckingham was 29th, and in front of him was Megan Lawson, Archie Strong, Leanna Page, Ross Deal, Jack Gooden, Aaron Lask, Joseph Rees-Smith in 22nd, ahead of behind Christian Brearley, with Maria Bright rounding out the top 20. From 11th down to 19th, it was Sam Fowler, Kai Springfield, Theo Hesketh, Michael Cornell, Harry Moore, Lee Whittingham recovering from 27th position to finish in 16th, and another great recovery drive from Spencer Stevenson in the process, 29th to 17th, with Ethan Newsham and Tony Kezegal rounding out the top 19. So, very shortly, for those listening on Downforce Radio, thank you very much for continuing to tune in. And I can tell you this, that the weather has held off. We're at 16 degrees Celsius. The track is still dry. And what a great race in TKM Extreme just then. Because we now have the last of our first set of finals before we go into the second finals. So in many respects, it's going to really be very interesting to see what happens next, because we go into round 7 of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships Honda Cadet Cup. And this one is also a very close quarter affair, with 3 points separating Japan's Keen Nakamura-Berta in the 5 from Project One Racing, and Mitchell Gibbons from Ambition Motorsport rocking the English Championship plate, which he secured along with the Shenington Super B plate, the SP plate, last weekend. 3 points separate the two. But I tell you what, there's going to be a very interesting dynamic because we have the likes of Danny Briggs, we have the likes of Ryland Eschberg, newly signed to Ambition Motorsport, making the switch after an impressive third-place finish at the second final at Fullbeck a few weeks ago. So the Honda Cadets are lined up on the dummy grid. They're just awaiting for the green flag to be waved. So it looks like we're going to be running pretty much to time, so very shortly I'll be going on to the PA as we're about to get our last of... So this will be round 7 of the 2019 Motorsport UK Honda Cadet Cup, and it's going to be a very, very interesting one because I tell you what, there is a Japanese buzzsaw on the front row looking to extend his gap. So it's the first of 2 finals, race 16 of the meeting here for the Honda Cadet Cup. It's round 7 of the championship, and it's going to be a very, very dynamic one because we have 2 drivers separated by just 3 points. It's been a battle royale between Japan's Keen Nakamura-Berta and Mitchell Gibbons from Ambition Motorsport as they are separated by 3 points. After the first round at PF International earlier on this year, Mitchell Gibbons was leading the way on count back only, but Nakamura-Berta has seized the advantage, but it hasn't been all plain sailing. The Japanese driver qualified 12th, but through the heat's progression through yesterday afternoon and then also today's side of things, it's going to be quite an interesting one. Nakamura-Berta and Kukurulo Yeomans on the front row ahead of Oscar Chewton, Mitchell Gibbons, Connor Duncan, Zach Drummond, Ewan Sharman, Henry Jocelyn, Sonny Smith, Ryan Eschberg, newly signed with Ambition Motorsport ahead of Josh Agenbar, Ethan Simmons, Jaden Gregg, Jack Hobson, Ben Rayburn, Josh Rudd, Wesley Swain, Gustav Sarkovs, Jacob Gilman, Thompson, Islin, Bick, Lawrence, Hull, Mitchell, Mortensen, Duncan, Shields, Speakman, Clifford, Hayward, Ghosh, Morgan and Graham. With the last 6 being those that qualified through the repechage earlier on today. Red lights on the gantry. So they've been asked to go straight to the starting grid. Lights out and Honda Cadet Cup is go here at Shenington. So they go into the first corner. Nakamura-Berta seizes the initial advantage, but Mitchell Gibbons was already down to 3rd, but he makes a move. Connor Duncan's trying to go up the inside of the number 77 of Oscar Chewton. Chewton, 2 wheels on the grass, coming out of the exit of Cafe Corner as they go down to Stratford for the very first time. Nakamura-Berta might lose out the lead if he's not careful because Kukurulo Yeomans is going with the Japanese driver in the number 5, and there is an absolute swarm of Honda cadets, nearly 3 abreast heading into the Bruno chicane. Do they make it through cleanly? No, there's a bit of contact in the mid-pack. One sent spinning the wrong way. That looks to be Henry Jocelyn from Ambition Motorsport. The number 62 had a great qualifying. And it was an Ambition Motorsport 1-2-3 yesterday afternoon. So they come through Wilkins to complete their first lap. As, there's been a little bit of a change here in the fact that... Red flag again has been called. Red flag has been called. For those on the Downforce radio feed, again, this is the second successive Honda Cadet Cup race that we've had. We had the repechage this morning. Red flags have been called. Medical team is en route to the scene of the incident. We will update you with any further notifications as they happen. Many thanks for your patience. For those listening on Downforce Radio, we're not going to go public on the PA with this, but there was an incident heading into Wilkins. 3 karts involved, one driver. There was a 3-kart battle that went a bit awry going into the entry of Wilkins, and I saw that one kart, apparently that it might be Ryan Eschberg, that may have been involved in said incident. Medical teams are on site. As soon as we have any further updates, we will give you the notification and the information as soon as we know. Many thanks. Just a further update. We just heard that Rylan Eschberg will not be taking the restart. The number 73 will be not taking any further part in this race. Looks to be up and walking. But then Wesley Swain's number 92 was also mentioned and looks to be taking the restart. So looks like we will have a full restart, 15 minutes reset on the timer. So there will be a delay. And as soon as we get back to racing, I'll be ready to call the play-by-play action as it happens when we go back to racing. Many thanks for your patience. So, ladies and gentlemen, just been informed by the clerk of the course and the race director that we will be going back to we're going back to a standing start very shortly. The field is now being put onto the starting grid. 15 minutes reset on the timer here for the 7th round of the 2019 Motorsport UK Honda Cadet Cup, with Wesley Swain retaking his position on the field, but unfortunately Rylan Eschberg will not be taking any further part in this final. Will he be back for final number 2? It is a very, very difficult item for me to predict, because I don't know whether they do have a secondary chassis that they may be able to fit in time, or whether they can get the repairs effected excuse me, ahead of the second final, which will start at 16:40. So very shortly I'll be going back onto the circuit PA for those being here at the circuit itself. So, lights out, second time around for Honda Cadet Cup, round 7 here, as Nakamura Berta takes the lead going through Park Bend as they all head through Cafe Corner. Rylan Eschberg, not competing in this final after the incident earlier on, and that was very, very wide there for the, I think that looked to be the 86, might have been from my commentary position, going down through into Pitts Bend. They head down to Stratford for the very first time. Now into the Bruno chicane. So Nakamura Berta leads. Oscar Chewton looks to have made the jump into second position. Mitchell Gibbons from Ambition Motorsport on the English plate is currently in third place as they head down towards Wilkins. This is where the incidents happened earlier on, which brought out the red flag stoppage. But now, let's see what's happened. I might have seen an overtake for third place, or whether there's been a problem for somebody, as Nakamura Berta is in first. Mitchell Gibbons up into second place. Third place is now Connor Duncan, the O-plate, 35 now up. That's Zach Drummond as the number 86 of Cucarillo. Yeomans again has to end up going a little bit wide, nearly 2 wheels on the grass out of Pitts Bend as they head towards Stratford Hairpin. Other drivers that have made some major inroads, obviously, with what's happened, is Mitchell Gibbons is hot on the heels of Keen Nakamura Berta for the lead of the race. The gap at the moment will extend, if it stays as it is, to 6 points in the favour of Nakamura Berta. So the field comes through into Wilkins. So, Nakamura Berta trying to fend off Mitchell Gibbons for the lead of this race. So at the moment in the virtual championship standings, it's going to be very, very touch and go. Ewan Charman really getting hustled here by Zach Drummond. Sonny Smith up into 6th position from 9th. Cucurella Yeoman's dropped down all the way from 2nd position to 9th place. So Callie Clifford's made some major inroads, as has Cruz Speakman, the two that were the top two in the repechage final, a bit of repechage earlier on today. They have definitely gone up the order. Now I'm wondering, has there been, I'm just keeping an eye on what's been going down on a little bit further down the order. So Callie Clifford up into 19th position. She's just been passed by Cruz Speakman, who won the repechage earlier on today. Leaders coming across the start-finish line. Nakamura Berta definitely not looking backwards. He is quite clearly looking forwards. But Mitchell Gibbons clearly keeping in the tow as Cucurella Yeomans and the number 58 of Ben Rayburn goes nearly side by side through Pitts Bend as they head down towards Stratford. So both Roland Eschberg and also Wesley Swain from Heinz Racing not taking any further part. Eschberg was eliminated through an incident which brought out the red flag. So other drivers that have made up positional gains. Danny Shields up from 28th into 20th. Freddie Hull, what a drive from Fast Freddie, number 99 from Ambition Motorsport. He's gone from 24th up to 13th position. So Nakamura Berta and Mitchell Gibbons are locked well and truly in this stalemate. They head through Pitts Bend, and the train behind definitely not keeping, well, from my commentary position, I can see that Nakamura Berta and Mitchell Gibbons are running their way down towards the Bruno chicane. Connor Duncan trying to close up on them. He was pretty much equidistant, as we've got two karts there's yellows off of the Bruno chicane. There are two karts that have gone straight on past the tyre barriers. One driver's trying to move the cart there, and there is one now. Now, was that? Now, could Ewan Charman be one of them? That driver is clearly frustrated, has just taken off the gloves and thrown them at the seat on the cart. That was Ewan Charman and Oscar Tewton. So, yellow flags being waved at the Bruno chicane as Mitchell Gibbons has got ahead of Keen Nakamura Berta to take the lead in final number one. So we got the move through, heading towards Stratford. So they went straight on, did both Charman and Tewton. So they are both, but Charman very, very frustrated at what's just happened. The pair went straight on past the tyre barriers on the approach into, and that was on the left-hand side as they headed towards the Bruno chicane. So that has put them out. And they were really, really fighting at the sharp end of the top 10 a bit earlier, as Nakamura Berta now has about 9.5 minutes plus an additional lap to try and outfox and outwit Mitchell Gibbons. Gibbons definitely has come in with the run of momentum in his favour, having won the Super Prix title last weekend. And he's keeping ahead at the moment. So, more changes for position. Lewis Islin up from 21st to 19th. Jai Lawrence up from 23rd to 18th. Stephen Duncan from Scotland. Project One Racing's young Scot up from 27th to 17th. Cruz Speakman, I think, has made the most positional games out of anybody. Alongside that, Freddie Hull now up into 11th position and charging forward. Now, a little bit of interesting story about Freddie. He suffers with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And I spoke with him and his dad, Jason, earlier on this weekend. And he says that when Freddie goes karting, he is a different individual. And he is fast. Hence the nickname Fast Freddie. And he is closing on the back bumper of Zach Drummond. Freddie Hull could very shortly factor in to the top 10. So, let's see. It's going to be very, very close because Zach Drummond is really on the heels of Josh Agenbar. It looks like the cutting-edge driver has lost down on a position. As I tell you what, Drummond was very, very Very, very abrupt, but I think firm and fair going through the entrance into the Bruno chicane. But the two leaders have really decided to motor on forward and battle amongst themselves as Mitchell Gibbons comes through Park Bend into the right at Cafe Corner. The E-Plate champion and Super Prix champion is definitely keeping Nakamura Berta at bay. But Connor Duncan is not reeling them in. Right behind them, Freddie Hull has just tried to go round the outside of Zach Drummond. Has he made the move stick heading before paddock? That is the case. So fast Freddie Hull in the number 99 from Ambition Motorsport up into the top 10. It didn't feel too great after heats and qualifying yesterday. Obviously with the conditions, it can sometimes throw a driver off, and he's had plenty of sleep, so that means the batteries have been fully charged, ready for today. 7 minutes, 10 seconds, plus an additional lap to go in this first of two finals for the Honda Cadet Cup. So it's round 7 of the 2019 season. Gibbons and Nakamura Berta locked in the stalemate, coming through Cafe Corner. Gibbons has really got the advantage here, but Nakamura Berta has got his own weapon in his back pocket, and that is the momentum of the tow, as Freddie Hull has just got past Josh Agenbar for another position. That's now up into 9th place there. And now there is a little bit of daylight between Mitchell Gibbons and Keen Nakamura Berta to about the tune of about half a kart length. Going through the Bruno chicane, Connor Duncan is dropping, but is going to be, I think, pretty happy with a 3rd place position. Stephen Duncan, in the meantime, up into the top 15. Freddie Hull up from 24th to 10th. Cruz Speakman up from 29th to 17th. Callie Clifford's now dropped down the order a little bit. She's still in 22nd position, but has made up 8 places. Mitchell Gibbons going very tight on the defensive through Cafe Corner. Out they come, through into Pitts Bend, the left-hander, as they roar their way down. As, Cucurullo Yeomans nearly goes 2 wheels on the grass again going into Pitts Bend. So, Freddie Hull up into the top 10. So, top 10 at the moment. Gibbons leads from Nakamura Berta, and it was 4 hundredths of a second between the pair. They've extended the gap to nearly 2 seconds over O-Plate champion Connor Duncan from Heinz Racing from Scotland. Ethan Simmons in 4th. That's a great drive from the young racing driver, academy driver based with Cutting Edge Racing. The number 23 up from 12th into the top 4. Ben Rayburn in the meantime up into the top 5 now from 15th to 10th. And I tell you what, with the way things are, if we go into the second final, we'll again have another stalemate. Gibbons and Nakamura Berta, virtually speaking, are level on points. So it's 65 for a win, 62 for second. Top 15, it's Gibbons, Nakamura Berta, Duncan, Simmons, Rayburn, Hobson, Smith, Agenbar, Freddie Hull now up into 9th, past Cucurullo Yeomans, Drummond, Jaden Gregg, who won final number 2 at Fullbeck a few weeks ago, Henry Jocelyn, Danny Shields and Stephen Duncan. Cruz Speakman's not that far outside of the top 15, he's currently circulating in 16th position. 4 minutes and 35 left to go on the clock as the leaders get close to crossing the start-finish line, which they do now, and they fly into Park Bend. And Nakamura Berta, I think, is just biding his time. He's got to wait to see whether he can make the move or whether Gibbons makes an unforced error. So I'm just keeping an eye on Freddie Hull. He's right on the back bumper of both Josh Agenbar and Sonny Smith. And Agenbar is in 7th position. Hull's in 9th. This could be a great showing from the youngster from Ambition Motorsport. Couldn't quite make it through on Stratford. They go through into the Bruno chicane. So just keeping an eye on what's happening. Ewan Sharman, unfortunately, no longer taking any further part in this. Oscar Tewton still circulating. Josh Rudd in 31st. But it is still very much battle lines drawn between the two championship protagonists, who again, after several times, will be level on points. And then it's a further 16 points back to Jack Hobson. 16 points. Hobson's currently in 6th place at the moment. Some nice work there from Callie Clifford, who's just gone past Lewis Islin. And that is for around about 17th position. But the time is fast ticking away. We're getting into the business end of this first Honda Cadet Cup final of the weekend. Round 7 of the 2019 season. Mitchell Gibbons still holding on. Still keeping Nakamura Berta at bay. But it's not a case of if, it is a case of when will Nakamura Berta make that decisive move. But then it's also a case of what if Mitchell Gibbons keeps him at bay for around the next 3 minutes. They're lapping at a 51.93 at the moment of the pair at the front. So Freddie Hull now back behind Josh Agenbar. He's dropped down to 10th position as Cucurilla Yeomans has passed the pair of them over the last lap. Connor Duncan still keeping it nice and consistent in third. Ethan Simmons from Cutting Edge Racing in fourth place. Behind him is Ben Rayburn, and Rayburn is not hanging about at all and is not holding off in any way, shape or form. He could spring a surprise and get past Simmons for fourth place. And in many respects, it's quite interesting. Now, who's got the fastest lap of this race? It's a 50... It looks to be possibly a 51.85. That could be Mitchell Gibbons that's got the fastest lap. There's a few that have got quite close. Ethan Simmons, Ben Rayburn have done a 51.86, as has Stephen Duncan. We've had a warning flag for the number 34. And that is for Jaden Gregg, Fullbeck Final 2 winner. Currently sitting in 15th position. 3 places behind Cruz Speakman, who's made an absolutely humongous gain this race in terms of positional increases. He's up 17 positions to 12th now. 1 minute and 5 to go, plus an additional lap. It is still mano a mano. It is still cadet versus cadet. And it is still Gibbons ahead of Nakamura Berta. This is an absolutely brilliant defensive drive from the Super Prix and English Plate champion. And I tell you what, Rayburn is not letting Simmons out of his sights as the pair go down towards Paddock. Not towards Paddock, towards Stratford. My apologies there. But the leaders coming through towards the Bruno chicane. Simmons holding off of Rayburn at the moment, a little bit further back. Drivers trying to keep on level peggings and keep on the slipstream. Freddie Hull may have dropped back another position. I'm not too sure. Is that Zach Drummond ahead? Maybe. So, 14 seconds on the clock. Leaders might cross it with about 5 or 6 seconds left to go. So, penultimate lap it is. And Gibbons is holding on magnificently here. What a defensive drive from the Ambition Motorsport driver. This is really going to make things ever so exciting going into our second final this afternoon. We are past the halfway point in terms of races completed. But this could really start the second... No, Nakamura Berta's got Gibbons. Nakamura Berta got Gibbons going through into the Bruno chicane. But Gibbons has an opportunity to strike back at the Japanese driver as they go through towards Wilkins. Nakamura Berta has around half a kart length lead at the minute in front of Gibbons. So, last lap board is waved. And it's waved for Keen Nakamura Berta. Mitchell Gibbons trying to go back past him. Is he going to try something through Cafe Corner? He went to the outside line. The pair are nearly side by side through Pitts Bend. Gibbons not giving up at all. He is right on the back bumper of Keen Nakamura Berta. They go through Stratford. And I tell you what, Gibbons is really sizing up the number 5 from Project 1 Racing. Going down to the Bruno chicane for the final time. Gibbons is going to go for it through the Bruno chicane. Nakamura Berta pushes him wide. The pair go side by side and round the outside of the exit of the Bruno chicane. Has Gibbons done the move to secure him the lead and also tie up the championship for points? He has. He's got through Wilkins first ahead of Nakamura Berta. The pair nearly came to fisticuffs, nearly came to clashing wheels, but the checkered flag waves, and it waves for Mitchell Gibbons. by 0.03 of a second ahead of Nakamura Berta. And I could just tell there's a big sign there. Nakamura Berta has just put his helmet in his hands as he's entered into Parc Fermé, as if to say, what happened there? So, it's a tie at the top of the standings. Mitchell Gibbons puts one up on the former, and I mean that at the moment, former championship leader, because he's tied with him at the minute on 432 points. Nakamura Berta in second, Connor Duncan in third, Ethan Simmons, a great drive from 12th to fourth position. Ben Rayburn, 10th, 10 places gained, finished in 5th place. Jack Hobson, Sonny Smith, Zach Drummond, Josh Agenbar and Freddie Hull round out the top 10. What a great drive from Fast Freddie in the number 99 from Ambition Motorsport. Thomas Cucurullo Yeomans might have started on the front row alongside King Nakamura Berta, but unfortunately his race would end up in 11th at the flag. But Cruz Speakman, the repechage winner from earlier on, finished in 12th position. He's definitely one of those people that we need to keep an eye on this season. Henry Jocelyn in 14th, ahead of Jaden Gregg, fullback Final 2 winner, will complete the top 15. Jai Lawrence, Gustav Syusakovs, Lewis Islin, Callie Clifford making it from 30th to 19th. So, there we go. So, there we go. That concludes the first set of finals. What an exciting battle between Nakamura Berta and Gibbons, all the way through past the halfway point of the race for us to have a grandstand finish. And also, I've just seen the number 42 of Ewan Charman's kart being brought back towards... but very shortly, we will have... I think very, very shortly indeed, well, we will have a little... I'm just wondering, we are running about 10 minutes behind schedule. Obviously, we've had 2 red flag incursions this weekend, both in Honda Cadets. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get underway with the business end of the weekend. First things first. Let's kick things off with KZ2. So, we are about to kick off the 6th round of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships KZ2 season. It's been a very interesting dynamic. We've had one driver pretty much head and shoulders above the rest of the field, and it has been the weekend for Scott Allen from Jade Racing in the number 25. Untouchable in wet qualifying conditions. And we are about to get things underway here for KZ2, round 6 of the 2019 season, and it's going to be a cracker. Now it's time to get the business end of the weekend underway here at Shenington Kart Racing Club for the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. It's round 6 of the 2019 KZ2 campaign. 15 minutes plus an additional lap. We'll see who will be leading the way, leaving Shenington at the end of this weekend. So, your grid is as follows. On pole position will be the number 25 of Scott Allen from Jade Racing Team. Adam Glear, who currently leads the standings by 13 points, lines up alongside the number 25 in second position on the front row. Then it's row 2 with James Glenister and Dan Kelly. Kelly's currently in second position in the standings, James Glenister in third. Miles Murphy and Matt Sherwin round out row number 3, ahead of Adam Rustling. Lee Ward, Craig Mooney and Hannah Lang completing the top 10. Anderson Chilcott in 11th, ahead of Lee Hasler, who completes row 6. Ryan Dones, who we spoke to a bit earlier on, will start on the inside of row 7 on 13th position. And alongside will be fellow Rush Performance teammate Nicholas Jenkins. Ashley Lewis and Tom Longfield start the next row ahead of Daniel Gould, Greg Dickens, Oliver Gemmell, Shane Daly and Dan Arlott. So full course yellow conditions being employed here at the circuit as we head into the formation phase. Looks like we've got the number 44 there. That's Adam Rustling, looking a bit out of position, but he's going to try and catch up. So they'll put everyone into a 2x2 standing start formation. Top 10, it's Scott Allen on the 25 on pole. Adam Glear on the number 2 alongside on the front row. Then it's James Glenister in the 77. Dan Kelly in the number 1. Miles Murphy in the 7. Matt Sherwin, it's number 66. Adam Rustling, 44. Lee Ward, number 9. Craig Mooney, number 83, and Hannah Lang in the number 91, who heads to Genk next week for the DKM, the German equivalent of the DKM, the Deutsche Kartmeisterschaft. So, they're going to put them on the formation lap. So, here we go, once again. Allen, Glear, Glenister, Kelly, Murphy, Sherwin, Rustling, Ward, Mooney, Lang. That's the top 10, with the field completed by Chilcott, Hasler, Dones, Jenkin, Lewis, Longfield, Gould, Dickens, Gemmell, Daly and Arlott. This field will be using the full gearbox circuit variation, totaling 1,211 metres. From start on the Park Straight, an extension down towards the Stratford hairpin, and very, very hard and fast racing. So, race 17 of the meeting. Final number 2 for KZ2. It's round 6 of the 2019 season. Scott Allen and Adam Glear are on the front row ahead of James Glenister, Dan Kelly, Miles Murphy, Matt Sherwin, Rustling, Lee Ward, Craig Mooney and Hannah Lang, with Glear coming into this race with a 13-point advantage over Dan Kelly. Red lights are on the starting gantry. The revs build, and we go green in KZ2 here at Shenington. They all surge their way down to the first corner, and I have to say, what's happened with Scott Allen? He's down, he's being pushed down, shoved down into 5th position before they've even hit the approach onto Stratford. So, Scott Allen, not a good start like he had in the first final a bit earlier on this afternoon. This could compromise his run. But if he keeps a clear head, he's going to have an opportunity. Top 3 really starting to break away. And in the lead of this race, it is the points leader, Adam Glear, who's definitely got a march on everybody else. I think James Glenister in second position is with him at the moment in the 77. So, at the moment, Glenister is setting the fastest sector 2 out of anybody, a 19.73 as they come to complete lap number 1. Glear in front, Glenister, Sherwin, Kelly, and then it's Scott Allen. He's got a recovery drive to do in this second final. Hannah Lang looks to hopefully move up the order, but she's currently still in 10th position behind Craig Mooney. Adam Rustling drops down behind Lee Ward, who takes 7th position. And at the minute, Shane Daly's made an absolute springboard up the order from 20th to 15th place. And at the minute, fastest sector, number 1, is Shane Daly. He had a mechanical in the first final earlier on that truncated his running. And he was even battling with for the lead with Scott Allen in the first final. But it all came asunder for the Irish driver. However, at the moment, Adam Glear leading the way. Scott Allen being slightly dropped here. But Dan Kelly has just put in the fastest lap of the race. Kelly, who's currently second in the championship, puts in a 45.18. And also Shane Daly still had the fastest Sector 2 out of anybody. But at the moment, it's definitely game on at the front of the field. Did Glenister get past Glear for the lead? He did. He slung-shot past going into the approach to the Bruno chicane. Nice move from the Rush Performance driver in the 77. So Glear now second behind Glenister. Sherwin in third. Dan Kelly, Scott Allen, Miles Murphy, Lee Ward, Adam Rusling, Craig Mooney and Hannah Lang complete the top 10. Tom Longfield at the moment, he's got up from 16th. Where is he now? He's still in 12th at the moment. He's not made any positional gains at the minute. So Dan Kelly looking to try and close in. He was actually 0.3 of a second quicker on Matt Sherwin, so he is closing for third position. Scott Allen, in the meantime, his last lap was a 45.3, but the fight at the front of the field is going to tighten up. But is Glenister going to break the toe of momentum for the opposition and start pulling away? Scott Allen did not have it his own way in the first final earlier on today, but can he mount a recovery assault to put him back clearly where he feels he should belong? As I tell you what, that was very sideways by Matt Sherwin going through turn 1, through Park Bend, nearly lost it and nearly handed an opportunity to Dan Kelly, who is right on the back bumper. He's going side by side. Kelly's going round to the outside line through paddock. And they're still side by side. Kelly, I don't think, has got the advantage. No, he hasn't. So Sherwin managed to pull away as they came out of Stratford. And this is allowing quite a lot of... Now, hang on. Did I just see what I... Now, where is Scott Allen? Where is Scott Allen? Now, Scott was running in 5th position. I'm going to wait until they come across the start-finish line. But Dan Kelly was very, very feisty indeed. And he's gone up the inside of Matt Sherwin. He's taken 3rd place. Scott Allen right on the back bumper of Sherwin. And with them is now Miles Murphy. Watch out for Lee Ward and Adam Rusling. Tom Longfield's got past Hannah Lang. So Longfield now into the top 10 and moving forward. Dan Ollott, unfortunately, I think has just retired. He's pulled it into the pits. But Ryan Jones, who we spoke to earlier on, he's not having a great time at the moment. He's currently 16th in the minute. He's dropped down 3 positions thus far, but hopefully the number 47 could have an opportunity to move a bit further up the order. But with the pace that is being set by the top 5 at the moment, it is absolutely barnstorming, and I don't think he's going to have an opportunity. But who knows? There is still plenty of this race left to go. We've got just under 1/3 of this race completed. 10 minutes 18 plus an additional lap. As Glenister and Glear have clearly broken away from Dan Kelly, as Scott Allen now up into 4th place. Matt Sherwin drops to 5th. And in the moment, the championship standings, Glear has pretty much in a virtual championship standing a 15-point advantage. Lee Ward, in the meantime, would drop down behind Miles Murphy in the standings down to 8th place. But at the front of the field, Glenister still controlling proceedings, pretty much doing a textbook of what Scott Allen did in the first final. But Allen at the moment, in terms of the virtual championship, would still be in around about 4th position if things finish as they do now. But Dan Kelly is on the move. He is flying. He is caught up to the top 2. He's got a sniff of victory right now as the number 1. He's just put in a 45.04. So if Glenister and Glear start battling, Kelly's got a ringside seat for that. As they now come making their way down towards the Bruno chicane. Glenister leads from Glear. Here comes the very, very feisty and very aggressive looking Dan Kelly in terms of performance. Scott Allen, Matt Sherwin, Miles Murphy, Lee Ward, Adam Rusling, Tom Longfield and Craig Mooney ran out the top 10. That's a good recovery drive from Tom Longfield considering what happened to the number 17 in the first final earlier on this afternoon. Now on to lap number 9, and it is still a stalemate between the top 3. It is now a cat and mouse game between Glenister, Gleer and Kelly as they head down towards Stratford. And I'm keeping an eye on what's happening. Kelly might be clearly in. He's going for second. Might he even go for the win? It's nearly 3 abreast into the Bruno chicane. Glenister, he keeps the lead. Gleer loses out to Kelly. That's a brilliant move from Dan Kelly. That was nearly 3 abreast coming out of Stratford. And I tell you what, Kelly had the run of momentum there. That was a great drive from the number 1. He puts himself up into second position and starts closing the gap on points leader Adam Gleer in terms of the championship standings. But I tell you what, Kelly, as I said earlier, he's not just going for second. I think he's going to try and get past Glenister. If he can get past Gleer, anything's possible. He's going towards the outside line, heading towards Stratford. Oh, I'm just keeping an eye. What is going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is the move going to happen? No, it's not. I think Glenister's held on just quite quickly there. He has. Kelly slots in behind, as does Gleer. Now Scott Allen is charging. He's done a 45.32. And we've had, and we've also had one of the drivers, can't really see who that is from my position, but that could be the 95 of Dan Arlott that's just off the Bruno chicane. But also Lee Hasler. Now there are yellow flags being waved into the Bruno chicane. Scott Allen now again could look to be a danger here in the fight for the top 4. Tom Longfield's now made up 8 positions. He's now up into 8th place from 16th. And he's not that far behind. He's got time to catch the driver in front, Adam Rusling. Hannah Lang's just still in 11th position as this 4-way, maybe even 5-way scrap at the front of the field is not letting me breathe, let alone anyone else that's probably watching this here at the circuit. But it is still Glenister. Kelly needs to make that move that could secure him a victory and close the gap on Gleer. It's now back to 10 points. As Scott Allen's got past Gleer. That's a move that Dan Kelly definitely wanted to happen. And Scott Allen obliged as Rusling is being closed in on by Tom Longfield. So Longfield really has come back from pretty much nowhere in this final. As Kelly really looking at Glenister, seeing if he can get past through into the Bruno chicane. Scott Allen's now dropped down to 5th place as both Gleer and Murphy have now got past. So Gleer knew that there was an opportunity to get past, and he must have made it past having gone through Stratford there. So the leaders come round to complete lap number 12 here. And Glenister and Kelly still battling at the front of the field. Kelly really trying to outfox and outwit Glenister to take the lead. Gleer looks to have dropped both Miles Murphy and Scott Allen. And it's 9 tenths between 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Tom Longfield finally got past Adam Rusling. Just a lap after he got into the top 8. So 5 minutes 25 plus an additional lap to go in this second KZ2 final of the race weekend, round 6 of the 2019 season. Glenister still hanging on to the lead. Kelly defiant and wanting to get past in 2nd position. Adam Gleer wanting to extend the championship lead to more than 10 points at the end of this race weekend. It is currently 11 points in terms of a virtual championship standing. Scott Allen now back past Miles Murphy. Now Allen really needs to get a motor on the 25 to catch up to the 3 in front. He's got about 9 tenths of a second to close down. As we've had Matt Sherwin unfortunately retire from the race too. So Sherwin out along with Hasler and Arlott. Daniel Gould has got past Oliver Gemmell in the battle for 17th position. Anderson Chilcott down in 15th. But the top 3, it's still very much, there has been a change. And I think that change has gone to the betterment of the points lead for Adam Gleer. It looks like he's got past Dan Kelly. And that is the case. Gleer up into 2nd now, past Dan Kelly. This is what he needed. He now needs to get past James Glenister. And I don't think he needs to do the job now because he's got plenty of time. It is about strategizing with the tyres These KZ2s, I've seen some tyres in my time that have gone through to the cords, and when Fabian Federer showed me his right rear tyre at Rissington earlier on this season, and there's been a bit of drama there. Glenister might have been forced wide there, and that has allowed... That's a 77. That's a warning flag for Glenister. So Glenister gets a warning flag. Whether he might have caused that, I'm not too sure. Ryan Dones still up into 13th position. So Dones still keeping in the top 15. That's hopefully going to be I know he's going to want to have more than that, but there's still time. So Gold is about 2.2 seconds. It might be a bit of a tall order in the next 3 minutes and 24 seconds to catch up. Well, Ashley Lewis... He's actually got past, so Dones up in another position, up into 12th place. But the running order is as follows. Points leader Adam Glier leads with 3 minutes and 10 seconds, plus an additional lap as they fly down towards the Bruno chicane. So Glier leads. Second position, it's Dan Kelly. Third place, it's James Glenister. A little bit further back, I think Scott Allen and Miles Murphy might be rounding out the top 5. So they come through Wilkins. They're going to complete 16 laps very shortly with around 2 minutes and 45 plus an additional lap to go. Adam Glier. Scott Allen up into third past Glenister and Murphy. So there we go. Allen now has got, I think he's had that wake-up call internally. The switch has been flicked. And now he's just decided to go for it. He's got nothing to lose. He's currently third in the championship. This might help to maybe pip Glenister into third in the overall standings from a virtual championship perspective. Meanwhile, Glier and Kelly are fighting amongst themselves. Allen's got the ringside seat. Glenister and Murphy a little bit further behind. But Tom Longfield is on fire at the moment. He is flying, is the number 17 from Worcester. He's up to 6th place. He's got past Lee Ward. And I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, a top 6 finish after a recovery drive like that, I definitely think he'll definitely need a chilled beverage after this particular race. But Adam Glier has started to pull away from Dan Kelly and Scott Allen. Time is fast ticking away. 1 minute 45 plus an additional lap to go in this 6th race of the 2019 KZ2 season. Glier is doing his very best to keep Dan Kelly at bay. So Glier running on the CRG chassis, same chassis that Max Verstappen won the 2015 World Championship on. It definitely shows that if you see that a 15-year-old Max Verstappen takes a title on that particular chassis, it's definitely one to use. And Adam Glier is using it to his absolute potential here at Shenington. 1 minute 9 plus an additional lap. Glier still leads by about 0.2 of a second from Dan Kelly. Scott Allen, who started on pole position, is still ahead of James Glenister. So we've had Anderson Chilcott overtake Nicholas Jenkins. Ryan Dones is about 1 second away from Hannah Lang. So Dones, by the end of the race, I don't think will have the opportunity to claw in that amount of time over the next couple of laps or so. But Glier definitely making sure that he wants to keep his intentions and keep ahead of everybody else in the championship standings. He will extend the gap by 6 points, provisionally speaking. But it's whether Dan Kelly can do something about it. He's got this, plus an additional lap to go. 20 seconds remaining. So by the time they exit the leaders exit the Bruno chicane, as it's a little bit of a further run down from the extended track here, 1,211 metres. The time now ends right now. That's it. 15 minutes are up. This is the penultimate lap. Glier has to hang on for around 1,600 metres or so to keep going as the leaders come through Wilkins for the penultimate time. Last lap it is. Adam Glier got the sign that he so clearly wanted, and now he's pulling away. It's now that time that Adam Glier puts the hammer down and says, right, that's it. Game's over. I'm going to extend my championship lead. They go down to Stratford for the last time of asking, blast their way down to the Bruno chicane. It's been a great drive. He started from second position. He was on the front row. Scott Allen untouchable in qualifying and in the first final earlier on this afternoon. But down the hanger straight, through the right-hand kink at hanger corner, through into Wilkins for the final time here. And the round 6 of the 2019 KZ2 season goes to Adam Glear, who extends his championship lead to 16 points, taking a maximum score in final number 2, race 17 of the meeting, by .66. He got the sign he needed at the final lap of the race, and Adam Glear wins race final 2 of the weekend, round 6 of the 2019 season for KZ2, ahead of his chief rival, Dan Kelly, by .66 of a second. Scott Allen cements himself as 4th in the championship hunt by taking 3rd after a great display earlier on in the first final. So a good haul of points for the 25 from Jade Racing Team. It seems like the momentum's swung in his favour. Miles Murphy rounds out the top 5 behind James Glenister, who was leading for a considerable amount of that race. Tom Longfield from 16th to 6th position ahead of Shane Daly, Lee Ward, Adam Rustling and Craig Mooney, who completes the top 10. Hannah Lang, it was close but not close enough. She started 10th, finished in 11th position, but she still shows that she has an opportunity to move further up the order. She's 6th in the standings. And that concludes the action for KZ2 here at Shenington. So there we go. A very, very interesting dynamic with Adam Glear extending his points lead. Obviously, every single result that is broadcasted live on Downforce Radio is provisional, subject to official ratification after post-race scrutineering and sporting investigations have been carried out by our teams here with the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. So that's the first of the second set of finals, with the highlights coming from Tuna Fish Media on the relevant British Kart Championships social medias on both Facebook and YouTube, with the Rotax highlights having recently been showcased from Llanigors in North Wales, a track that I visited myself, and it's a very interesting test. It's one of the most tricky in terms of ascents and descents, and also very technical as well. But it's going to be an interesting one over this particular encounter, because there is one driver that has got a heck of a lot of work to do from right down in the third part of the... he's basically within, below 20th position, Oliver Stewart from Jade Racing Team. His second place has been taken away through an incident that occurred earlier on. But Charlie Webb, I'm not too sure if there was an incident between the two, whether it's classed as a racing incident. I couldn't really see it because I couldn't see it from my commentary position. but very shortly we'll be getting underway. 15 minutes plus an additional lap. Zach Oates leads by 40 points ahead of Clarkson Motorsports. Louis Harvey running on the ARC chassis. One of the oldest kart chassis providers from what I understand. But there's going to be a lot of action. We've got a lot of drivers definitely out to do their level best, and there are some people who are clearly in the title fight. There are some people who want to throw themselves into it, and we'll find out very shortly what happens there as they're just awaiting for the green flag to be waved on the pre-grid. So the anticipation builds ahead of Junior TKM final number 2. This is round 8 of a 12-round championship. Race 18 of the meeting. So now we get things underway with the second final for Junior TKM this weekend here at Shenington. Round 8 of the 2019 season. 15 minutes plus an additional lap set on the timer. And with Zach Oates having a healthy 40-point lead after a very dramatic final number 1 where Oliver Stewart would end up not finishing in the sharp end but would be towards the back end of the grid. Louis Harvey from Clarkson Motorsport now takes second position in the standings on 403 points, with Stewart now in third place. So the grid will be as follows. Zach Oates and Harry Yardy-Rose will start on the front row with Oates on pole position. Charlie Webb and Jensen Davis on row number 2 ahead of Scott Smith, with James Barty rounding out the top 6. Completing the top 10, it's Litchfield Motorsports' Zach Taylor, Jack Saunders, one of the privateers entries on the 32, Oliver Richardson, and Clarkson Motorsports' Louis Harvey. Just behind will be Ben Watson, teammate to Harvey, who took the win after an incredible battle with Oates and Harvey back at fullback in final number 2. He starts 11th. Dominic Roberts, Spencer Lane, Josh Raystrick, Morgan Kidd, Harvey Roth, Ben Higgins, Finley Saunders, Jack Nicholson, Jacob Hodgkiss, Harry Wainwright, Theo Tibbets, Matt Marsh, Ben Cox, Harvey Cole, Oliver Stewart, Tom Johnson, Will Howells looks like he might not be competing in this, Dominic Kilmister, as we go green. Lights out and off we go. Looks like Oates is going to get the initial advantage going through Cafe Corner. Yardy-Rose really holding everybody up a little bit. Webb nearly going 2 wheels on the grass, going through into Pitts Bend. Has everyone made it through nice and safely? But at the moment, Oates has got the advantage. Yardy-Rose going down the straight behind him, about 2 kart lengths, or there or thereabouts in second position. Third place is Charlie Webb. And it looks like there's been a multi-kart incident. Probably looks to be 3 or 4 karts. Yellow flags waving at Paddock Bend. But the lead is still being hotly contested. And it is between Zach Oates, Harry Yardy-Rose, and also Charlie Webb. James Barty up from 6th to 4th ahead of Jensen Davis and Scott Smith. Jack Saunders, Oliver Richardson, and the likes of Harvey Roth, Ben Higgins. There has been quite a dramatic change in the fact that several drivers may not be taking any further participation in this race because there are still yellow flags whilst the clean-up operation is underway. So it looks like we've dropped down in terms of how many drivers will be continuing this race, as it looks to be 27 will still continue to compete, as we've got 13 minutes, 30 seconds plus an additional lap of this race to go. And at the moment, Oates will actually have a new title rival. Well, he's been threatening ever since Rissington, and that is Harry Yardy-Rose from TWM in the number 19. The pair battled on what was a dynamic encounter for the win with Zach Oates nipping Yardy Rose through the Bruno chicane on the final lap. And Yardy Rose, I think, has lost out to Charlie Webb. That is the case. Webb got up the inside of the number 19 from TWM through paddock and got the run through. As there is a very poorly... Well, there's one kart coming through, and that is the number 56 that's just pulled into the pits. And that is Josh Raystrick, who was running 21st. But at the moment, Charlie Webb is definitely on the move and is clearly fighting with his Precision Racing teammates. But there is one golden rule. You do not take out your teammate. Charlie Webb has got to win this fair and square off of Zach Oates. And in many respects, Charlie Webb, if he does this, he's not factoring into the top 10, but he'll get a little bit closer towards it. Harry Yardy-Rose sitting in third place. Scott Smith looks to be past James Barty for fourth position ahead of Jack Saunders. Jensen Davis and Harvey Roth, Ben Higgins, Oliver Richardson, they complete the top 10. So we're down to 26 competitors. So Josh Raystrick has officially retired from the race. But at the front, it is still a three-kart brawl. It is still Zach Oates, Charlie Webb and Harry Yardy-Rose. And then behind them, now where is Louis Harvey? He's all the way down in 21st. That's going to put him into third position. So he was 40 points adrift. His gap now between him and Oates will be around about 63 points if it finishes. But Louis Harvey did a great drive earlier on in the first final and got into the top four, obviously with penalties notwithstanding. May have been penalised post-race, which meant he started at the bottom part of the top 10. That may have been where the issues happened. But the lead has changed. Charlie Webb now takes the lead from Zach Oates. And Oates with that very, very heavily teethed, Venom-esque style race helmet, which anyone can spot a mile off, especially when he's coming into my line of sight, is definitely looking, I think, probably to try and get back past. Oh, that was very, very close there. Joe Harrison in 17th, went nearly all four wheels off, heading into Pitts Bend there, battling away. So Charlie Webb continues to lead, but managed to get past his teammate Zach Oates, the English champion, fairly and squarely there. So it's still stalemate at the front. Webb leads. Oates, Yardy-Rose, Smith, Barty, Saunders, Davis, Richardson, Harvey Roth now up from 16th place into 9th ahead of Ben Higgins. Finley Saunders and Jack Nicholson have also improved by 7 positions respectively. They round out the top 12 in 11th and 12th place. As Charlie Webb still leads. Saunders now past Barty for 5th. Roth up into 8th past Oliver Richardson. So that's a great work from Harvey Roth, who was also in contention for some good points at Rissington a few months ago. But Louis Harvey, the guy that we spoke to earlier, he's trying to claw back some places. He's down in 20th. This is hurting his championship hopes. But there are still 4 more races, 2 more race weekends after this, to help him get back into where he wants to be and to be on that top step of the championship podium at the end of the season. There's still 9 minutes and 17 seconds plus an additional lap, but it just depends on how much damage limitation Louis Harvey can muster up in the next 9 minutes or so. He's made up another position. He's got past Joe Harrison for 19th position, and he's done that to somebody else. Litchfield Motorsport, Zach Taylor. Harvey was absolutely clinical through the Bruno chicane there. But Charlie Webb definitely not giving up, not wanting to relinquish that lead, as Yardy-Rose really closing on the back bumper of Oates. What's Oates going to do here through Stratford? He can't get through quite yet. Can he do something spectacular like he did in the first final? And I tell you what, Oliver Stewart's just come through my line of sight, 17th position. So, Stewart up from 26th to 17th. The Scot is on the move. He needs to get a bit further forward. He's got 8 minutes, 20 seconds, plus an additional lap to do so. But Webb still holding the fort, still keeping first position. And now they've broken away ever so slightly by about a car length. But I tell you what, Yardley Rose looking very, very impressive under brakes. He's got the measure of the two in front because he can see where they're braking and late brake accordingly, as there's a swarm of karts with Dominic Kilmeister just behind in 14th, and that's got Harvey Roth, Harvey Cole, Morgan Kidd and Jack Nicholson just up ahead. So that's an absolutely brilliant scrap for 10th position. Ben Higgins in the meantime still in 8th place. Cian Bennett in the meantime started 32nd, and obviously with the amount of casualties we've had so far, Josh Raystrick, Spencer Lane, Jacob Hodgkiss, Theo Tibbets, Will Howells, Daniel Casal and Lewis Mackey. Some drivers I don't think even took the start, as the leaders really keeping themselves very, very neat and tidy. They're trying to make sure that they don't make the main move first. They're waiting for somebody else to blink. So Kilmister from TWM, teammate to Harry Yardley Rose, who is still keeping in touch with Zach Oates in second, the English champion, Charlie Webb in first. And it's only less than 0.3 of a second between the top three at the moment. So Webb is really being closed on. Oates is not allowing his teammate to breathe. And Yardley Rose is trying to put one up on Zach Oates. So Oates could really factor in. And I tell you what, Louis Harvey has been moving up the order. He's now up into 17th. This means he goes 1 point ahead in the virtual championship standings. And what's more, that's on Harry Yardley Rose. And what's more, that puts him in second in the overall standings. Oliver Stewart, though, don't count this young Scot out. He's up to 18th from 26th. So what will happen is that this will be a clear-cut battle for second position. But at the end of the day, every driver wants to battle for the title, and Oates is doing what he needs to do. He doesn't need to make an unforced error or a mistake that could cost him a handful of points. Because even if he does that, as Louis Harvey jumps up into 16th, that's another point. He's now gone 2 points ahead of Yardley Rose in the standings. So Louis Harvey started this race in second in the championship. Yardley Rose has overtaken Stewart, as Stewart was third. Stewart now 5 points in the virtual championship standings, but he is not done yet, because I tell you what, Louis Harvey is going to be in a battle with Oliver Stewart. This could be really interesting, because this will be a case of seeing what happens for second and third in the championship come the end of this race. And they are line astern. Harvey and Stewart are with each other right now. They are going down towards Stratford. Stewart right on the back bumper of the Clarkson Motorsport driver in the number 7. But Harvey definitely on the defensive there. Stewart can't get past yet. Might have a bit more of a run going through to towards Hanger Corner, and then Wilkins. But the leaders still are not being separated. This is brilliant. 4 minutes and 14 plus an additional lap. Then behind them, James Barty, Scott Smith. And Barty, I think, has been overtaken by Scott Smith. So Smith looks to have jumped up into 4th place. Jack Saunders, that's a great scrap as Louis Harvey and Oliver Stewart, they are battling over what is effectively 16th position. But this could be very much a key. I mean, the thing is, it's not going to do enough. It might help Stewart close the gap to Yardley Rose, but not to overtake Harvey in terms of the championship standings. But at the moment, Scott Smith rounds out the top 5 in the virtual championship standings. All results that are posted, well, that are called post-race, are subject to provisional classification and then ratification officially through sporting and scrutineering checks. The top 3 through into Stratford. I think, you know what, Zach Oates is really not taking any chances. He is doing a very measured and very calculated drive here. And I've just seen the number 9 of Ben Watson. Well, Ben might have been one of those that got caught up a bit earlier. The top part of the Nassau plate looks a bit askew there. So that's not going to help him, unfortunately. That's going to drop him to 10th in the standings. But the leaders, it is still mesmerising. It is still the fact that they are matching each other. But the fastest out of the top 3 is Harry Yardley Rose by literally 0.02 of a second. Not even half a tenth. Not even a tenth. It's fractions smaller than that. So, Webb leads, Oates in second, Yardley Rose in third, Scott Smith, James Barty, Jack Saunders, Ben Higgins, Jensen Davis, Harvey Cole and Oliver Richardson round out the top 10 as we go into the last 2 minutes and 15, plus an additional lap. Morgan Kidd, Dominic Kilmister, Harvey Roth, Jack Nicholson, Finley Saunders. Oliver Stewart has got past Louis Harvey. So Stewart gets 1 point closer to Yardley Rose. Then Zach Taylor, Harry Wainwright, Dominic Roberts, as Finley Saunders has got past Jack Nicholson for 14th position. Joe Harrison, Kean Bennett, Ben Cox, Matt Marsh, Tom Johnson and Ben Watson, rounding out those that are still circulating out on the circuit. There's been a couple of warning flags as well. Number 36 received one a bit earlier on, and that was Harvey Roth. Number 77, that was Dominic Kilmister, got one handed to him after 11 minutes after the start. We're into the last 90 seconds. Webb, Oates and Yardley Rose still locked in the stalemate. No, that's not the case anymore. What happened to Charlie Webb? So Charlie Webb has dropped behind both Harry Yardley Rose, who takes the lead by nearly 2 tenths ahead of Zach Oates. So that was very, very decisive there from Yardley Rose. But I have to say, could lightning strike twice? Because if the way that Zach Oates is manoeuvring that E-plate kart right now from Precision Racing, he is now gearing up. The assault is now. We've got yellows at Wilkins. Yellows at Wilkins. This is not going to allow anybody to overtake. So yellow flags at Wilkins on both the entry and the exit, and probably even into Hanger Corner. Oh no, Oliver Stewart's been involved again, as I tell you what, Zach Oates really, but this has allowed Louis Harvey to stay in what is now 15th. But Yardley Rose is going to come under fierce scrutiny and pressure from Zach Oates. Could it happen again? Could Oates do the business through the Bruno chicane? The timer's going to count down right now as they go down the hanger straight for the penultimate time of asking. So Oliver Stewart looks like that's it for him, for his weekend. It's gone really, really badly for the Scot. Last lap it is, so who's going to come out on top? Will Yardley Rose take a victory, or will Zach Oates do the double here at Shenington? We're about to find out. They go through Pitts Bend for the final time, scream their way down towards Stratford. So Oates is measuring. He's gone to the outside line to carry the momentum through Stratford. Here we go. Is it on? Could Zach Oates do it again through the Bruno chicane? Not quite. Yardley Rose hangs on. He was wise to that move from last time. But Oates really trying to force the issue. He tried to go towards the inside line of the hanger straight into Hanger Corner. I don't think it's going to be enough because they're about to exit Wilkins. I think he might have done it. Yardley Rose, I think, has got it. At the flag, the checkered flag has waved. It's Yardley Rose. Yardley Rose takes it ahead of Zach Oates after another great battle. Wow, Yardley Rose. He put the boot on the other foot for Zach Oates right there. And the gap was pretty much the same as what we had in final number 1. But what a disaster for Oliver Stewart. That's a real shame for the Scot. He crosses the timing beam on lap number 20, as everyone else completed 21 laps. But Yardley Rose wins ahead of Zach Oates, who extends his championship lead to 51 points, leaving Shenington before any provisional results have been taken into account. Charlie Webb third ahead of Scott Smith, James Barty, Jack Saunders, Harvey Cole, Jensen Davis, Morgan Kidd, Dominic Kilmister rounds out the top 10 ahead of Harvey Roth, Jack Nicholson. Louis Harvey still is level on points with Yandy Rose, but finishes in 13th, ahead of Zach Taylor, Dominic Roberts, Joe Harrison, Harry Wainwright, Kian Bennett, Matt Marsh, Ben Cox, Tom Johnson, Ben Watson and Oliver Stewart being the last of the 23 classified finishers, with Ben Higgins, Oliver Richardson, Finley Saunders, Josh Raystrick, Spencer Lane, Jacob Hodgkiss, Theo Tibbets, Will Howells, Daniel Gazal and Lewis Mackey, some of which who didn't even take the start. But breaking news, Zach Oates extends to a 52-point advantage ahead of the next round of the Junior TKM season. So it is now time for our 8th round of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships TKM Extreme season. Race 19 of the meeting, and your grid is as follows. James Pashley, will start from pole position, and alongside him will be the 29 of Matthew Taylor. Max Goldsmith and Ryan Cole round out row 2 ahead of Dan McKeown and Carl Sproat, who round out row 3. Lewis Wadley, who we spoke with earlier on, in the number 98, who did the double at Rissington, he starts on a little bit further down the order, just behind Sproat. So that will be on row number 4. Alongside will be Alexander Page with Kai Springfield and Theo Hesketh rounding out the top 10. Then it's Michael Cornell and Harry Moore ahead of Lee Whittingham, who lost the points lead after final number 1. Spencer Stevenson lines up alongside the number 9 with Ethan Newsham and Francis Tony Kazagel in the number 11. Adam Sparrow and Maria Bright are ahead of Sam Fowler, Kristen Brearley, Joseph Reeve-Smith, Aaron Lask, Jack Godden, Ross Deal, Leanna Page, Archie Strong, Megan Lawson, James Buckingham, Isaac Marsh, Chris Whitten, who has an obscene amount of work to do in this final, Alexander Lehman, Zach Bowen and James Ogden. The formation lap is underway. The red lights will be on the starting gantry. 2x2 rolling start formation for the final time this weekend. Full course yellows employed. So the field gets into position. It's Pashley from Taylor, Goldsmith, Cole, McKeown, Sproat, Wadley, Page, Allnut, Springfield, Hesketh, Cornell and Moore. Let's see what happens for race 8 of the 2019 season. We go lights out and into Park Bend for the first time, and Pashley gets the whole shot. And with him goes the 66 of Max Goldsmith, who he was battling with earlier on. Wadley looks to be up at least another position as they all stream their way. It's nearly 3 abreast at points through Pitts Bend, heading into Stratford for the very first time of asking. It's getting a bit dicey round there. I'm just wondering how Chris Whitten is getting on. But Lewis Wadley looks to have made at least one positional gain at the very, very soonest. But Pashley getting the whole shot, set the fastest first sector. We've got 14 minutes, 23 seconds, plus an additional lap to go. But Pashley could really help his championship hopes. He's just done a purple on sector number 2. 15.07, 15.82. Goldsmith sets the fastest lap of the race. So this is going to be very interesting indeed. Zach Bowen didn't even start the start proceedings. So, field now makes its way. Goldsmith looking a bit feisty behind Pashley. Wadley has dropped behind Alexander Page, so Wadley already on the back foot as the precision racing driver. He's 1.51 seconds, as we did briefly have yellows at Wilkins. Looks to be retracted there, as the lead is now starting to come through to complete lap number 2 here for TKM Extreme Final 2, round 8 of the season. Pashley, this is his local track, so he knows it very, very well indeed. So at the moment, the top 10 is James Pashley, Max Goldsmith, Matthew Taylor, Dan McKeown, Ryan Cole, Carl Sproat, Alexander Page, Lewis Wadley, Kai Springfield and Theo Hesketh. And in terms of the virtual championship standings, Pashley would then end up, if it finishes as it does right now, Pashley will take the lead in the virtual championship standings by 5 points from Kyle Sproat. Ryan Cole in third, ahead of Lee Whittingham, who wouldn't change the position, but Sproat and Cole would drop down the order. Chris Whitten would drop down equal on points with Fowler. That's Sam Fowler in the number 6 from Jade Racing. So Pashley, with that very, very heavily star-littered race helmet. That's a heck of a lot of silver on there, but at least you can see where it is. So the number 52 of Pashley has about half a tenth of a second advantage, but he might have extended it because Taylor looking very feisty behind Max Goldsmith. Dan McKeown looking to get into the mix. They've got a gap of around 8 to 10 kart lengths between themselves and Kyle Sproat. Alexander Page in 6th. Lewis Wadley 7th. Ryan Cole, Kai Springfield, Matthew Allnut complete the top 10. And running out the top 15, it's Spencer Stevenson, who's up from 15th to 11th, ahead of Michael Cornell, Theo Hesketh, Ethan Newsham, and Adam Sparrow. So Sparrow is already up 3 positions. So Sparrow currently is running in 5th in the championship at the moment. Obviously, there may have been some decisions post-race that would have seen him being demoted severely down the order. So Pashley hanging on to the lead at the moment. Goldsmith definitely in the mix along with Taylor, McKeown, Sproat, Wadley up another position. Wadley now up into 7th place. So that's good work from the Precision Racing driver. So this will help his points tally. He won't quite make the top 10 as of yet, as of the end of this weekend. However, this will help him in terms of moving forward in the standings. But Pashley definitely not relinquishing this lead without a fight. And Max Goldsmith, Matthew Taylor and Dan McKeown could be the 3 drivers behind that could put that to him. Pashley goes purple in Sector 2. Wadley goes purple in Sector 1 and has got, well, Kyle Sproat is not having the best day in the office, I will be completely honest with you. He's now dropped down into 7th position. So Harry Moore from Litchfield Motorsport, Zach Bowen looked like they didn't even take the start, but the full running order, all 32 competitors. Pashley from Goldsmith, Taylor in 3rd, McKeown 4th, Page, Wadley, Cole, Sproat, Allnut, Stevenson, Springfield, Cornell, Sparrow, Hesketh, Newsham, Kazagel, up from 17th, ahead of Lee Whittingham, who was the former points leader coming into this race weekend. Fowler, Ogden, Lask, Reeve Smith, Maria Bright, Chris Whitten, up from 31st to 23rd position. Good recovery from the former points leader when we left Rissington a couple of months ago. Christian Brearley, Archie Strong, Ross Steele, Isaac Marsh, Jack Godden, Megan Lawson, Leanne Page and Alexander Lehman, with James Buckingham rounding out the 32 strong. 9 minutes and 44 to go, plus an additional lap. So Pashley leading the way, keeping everything composed and controlled. Ryan Cole's got past Sproat, so Sproat now has, in terms of virtual championship standings, Pashley would extend his lead to 7 points over Sproat. Cole would then drop to 3rd, a further point adrift. Lee Whittingham would be on 443. Adam Sparrow on 443 in 5th position, with Dan McKeown running out the top 10 in the virtual championship standings on 395 points. And that will probably be the first time this season that he would actually be in there. So McKeown running in 4th at the moment. If he gets past Taylor or Goldsmith, he could further move up the order. Wouldn't have to take much, as Pashley now has not got the lead anymore. Looks like Matthew Taylor's got the lead. So they all make their way down, and Pashley in 3rd position. Looks to be Max Goldsmith up ahead as they come through the Bruno chicane. So Taylor, Goldsmith, Pashley, McKeown, that's the top 4. Behind them, they've got Alexander Page and Lewis Wadley. So it's TWM versus Precision Racing. So what a drive from Lewis Wadley. He's started in 7th. He drops a little bit further towards the bottom part of the top 10. But now he's recovering. And if he can get past Page, there's no... There's a potential opportunity for him to claw into that nigh on 1 second gap between Page and McKeown. So Goldsmith now leads the race as we fast approach the half-time distance. So Goldsmith leads, Taylor, Pashley, McKeown, Page. Sproat gets past Cole. So that's Flex. So Sproat from Litchfield Motorsport in the number 7 now 7th position, ahead of the Flex Motorsport number 48 of Ryan Cole. And now Wadley's up into the top 5. He's got past Alexander Page, so that's really helped him. So up to from 7th. More changes. Chris Whitten, the recovery continues for the number 2 seed, up from 31st to 19th. That's a gain of 12 positions. But the driver that's really made an inroads this race started 34th and now is 17th, even though we had a couple that did not start the race. That just happens to be James Ogden, one of the privateers. An absolutely Herculean drive from the number 93 thus far. And he's not too far behind Ethan Newsham in the 31, who's currently in 16th position. But at the front, it is now Max Goldsmith leading from Matthew Taylor. Pashley, McCune, Wadley is now closing. Now he's got past Page as there is an absolute gaggle. And Chris Whitton clearly in the mix. And he was surrounded by the likes of James Ogden, Fowler, Lask, Reeve-Smith and Cazugel from France. But now look at the train at the front of the field. This is really going to be interesting because Lewis Wadley is closing with the assistance of Alexander Page, and it is 6 strong for the lead of the race coming through Wilkins. 5 minutes 58 plus an additional lap to go. Your guess is as good as mine what might transpire, but I'm definitely anticipating a brilliant run from it, and Wadley's got past Goldsmith. So Goldsmith has dropped all the way down from what was the lead as the timing just tries to keep up with everything that's happening. Well, Goldsmith apparently is showing in first position, but I definitely saw that he might have been in fourth. So it looks like Lewis Wadley is up the order. So there we go. Just keeping an eye. Well, it looks like Goldsmith's still in the lead. Taylor's in second. McKeown, Pashley. But that could be that Wadley's now up ahead. I'll keep an eye on when they come across the start-finish line, which will be very shortly. We're getting into the last third of this race. 5 minutes 10 plus an additional lap to go, and it is confirmed that, well, it is changing all the while. It really is. So there's been a mechanical black flag for the number 3. That was for Adam Sparrow. No wonder the orders changed dramatically. So Adam Sparrow's got a mechanical. The number 36 has also got a mechanical. That's in 11th position, Matthew Allnuts. So Pashley leads, apparently, from McKeown, and that is the case. Matthew Taylor. No, I think that's Lewis Wadley. Wadley's taken third. That's a great run for the Precision Racing driver. Started 7th, now up into 3rd place. 4 minutes 29 plus an additional lap left to go in this fantastic encounter for TKM Extreme. So Pashley from McKeown, Wadley, Taylor, Page. Well, no, it looks like it's Wadley and Page with Taylor and Goldsmith a little bit further back. Kyle Sproat has dropped behind Max Goldsmith now. And at the minute, the gap is closing in terms of the championship hunt. Chris Whitton's efforts have seen him go from 31st to 14th. He's now back into the top 6 in a virtual championship standing on 410 points, which only puts him 55 points behind James Pashley, who was one of his chief competitors back at Rissington. So Chris Whitton exercising not just damage limitation, but a fight back, a comeback. A champion not only can be very, very dominant, but could also have that streak where they can come back and fight their way through the field, like Chris Whitton has done over the nigh on 12 minutes thus far. And I don't think it's going to be even more than that because he's up into 13th position as Lewis Wadley gets past Dan McKeown. It could the fairy tale ring true? What a great drive from Lewis Wadley from Precision Racing. He's got a real opportunity here because Pashley might want to have the victory on home turf, but Wadley has got other ideas. As Wadley's got the lead! Wadley's taken it! He must have got it. He had the run of momentum coming out of Wilkins. And Wadley, what a drive! He's just taken the lead with about 2 minutes and 45, plus an additional lap to go. So, at the minute, a few other changes. We've got that Pashley is no longer leading. It is Lewis Wadley from Precision Racing. I tell you what, this is really going to help him because he did two for two at Rissington. He could take a 3rd win of the season, and that would be really interesting in terms of where the championship dynamic for him when it comes to him being involved, because he won't come into the top 10 quite yet, but he'll get ever closer as a result of it. But no, it's not happening yet. Pashley's had that definite thought of, right, I've got just over 2 minutes, I'm going to grab the lead back, and he's done so. So Pashley now retakes the lead back after a brief hurrah from Lewis Wadley. But I tell you what, the fight's not over yet because there is still 6 drivers that can go for this victory. Michael Cornell gets past Joseph Reeve-Smith for 16th position. But it's Pashley, Wadley, McKeown, Page, Taylor and Goldsmith. That's the top 6. We're getting into the last 90 seconds. 1 minute 22 plus an additional lap to go. Pashley holding on. Can Wadley get past? Or will even McKeown throw his own right hook into the party? It's all to play for. 70 seconds. Time fast ticking away. Can't really tell you what I'm going to think about what's going to happen, but nevertheless, it's been a great, entertaining conclusion for the race weekend for TKM Extreme here at Shenington. So what Wadley needs is basically an unforced error, or needs to pressurise Pashley into making a mistake that he hopes that Pashley won't come back from. But it was nearly 3 abreast going through Wilkins on that time. I think Wadley still got second place at the minute as they come through. So 34 seconds on the clock. It's last lap next time around. Wadley has got about 17 or so hundred metres, or there or thereabouts, to complete what could be a lovely race win at the end of the weekend. Spoke to him earlier on, earlier on this morning. He said, I was feeling a bit better this weekend. So he hasn't had the best run of luck at fullback, but Wadley could be on course, but it just depends on whether Pashley can hold on. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's expired. Penultimate lap this is. We get the final lap being first shown to James Pashley this time around. Lewis Wadley right on the back bumper of the 52. The leaders come through. It's got to be now or never. It's got to be ride or die for Lewis Wadley if he wants to get the win and steal it at the dying moments from James Pashley. Alexander Page ahead of Dan McKeown, Max Goldsmith and Matthew Taylor. The order around the top 6 has been moving every so often. Stevenson, Sproke, Cole, Ogden. That rounds out the top 10. Lee Whittingham recovers up to 11th position from 14th. But we're down into the last half of the lap. Pashley, I think, might have done enough to hold on. But we've got yellow at Wilkins. This is going to give him the victory. This really is. Wadley will not be able to pass going into the approach into Wilkins. The checkered flag is going to wave, and it's going to be a win for James Pashley. So there we go. What a win for James Pashley, one of the privateers, and he gets a 7-point advantage at the end of it. So James Pashley wins by just 0.3 or 1/3 of a second from Lewis Wadley from Precision Racing. Alexander Page in third. Dan McKeown in fourth, ahead of Alexander Page in fourth. Max Goldsmith takes fifth, ahead of Matthew Taylor, with Spencer Stevenson, Kyle Sproat, James Ogden and Lee Whittingham rounding out the top 10. Kai Springfield finished ahead of the very determined and very damage limitation orientated Chris Whitten, who finishes in 12th place ahead of Ryan Cole, Ethan Newsham and Sam Fowler rounding out the top 15. Then it was Joseph Reeve-Smith, Michael Cornell, Christian Brearley, Aaron Lask, Theo Hesketh, Isaac Marsh, Archie Strong, Megan Lawson, Jack Godden, Ross Steele, James Buckingham and Alexander Lehman, with Leanna Page and Adam Sparrow being the last drivers to take the checkered flag, with Sparrow in 31st, with Maria Bright, Tony Kezegel, Matthew Allnut, Harry Moore and Zach Bowen not finishing the race, with Moore and Bowen not even making it to the start, with Pashley now taking a 7-point advantage, leaving Shenington. We now go racing for the final time here for the race weekend at Shenington. And it is for the 20th and final race of the meeting. It is round 8 of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships Honda Cadet Cup. And it's going to be a very exciting one because we have two drivers level on points once again. It's been the two that have been battling all season long, and this is where we find out who is going to come out smiling and who is going to have the sense of disappointment. So, the grid is as follows. Mitchell Gibbons, the English champion from Ambition Motorsport, will be on pole position, having had a great battle with Keen Nakamura Berta, who showed signs of disappointment post-race on the first final this weekend. Then it's Connor Duncan and Ethan Simmons. Ben Rayburn and Jack Hobson round out the next row on the grid ahead of Sonny Smith, Zach Drummond, Josh Agenbar and Freddie Hull rounding out the top 10. Then it's Thomas Cucurulo Yeomans, Cruz Speakman, Stephen Duncan, Henry Jocelyn, Gustav Susakos, Callie Clifford, Danny Shields, Sonny Mortensen, Aidan Mitchell, Jacob Gilman, Bradley Bick, Jaden Gregg, Jai Lawrence, Lewis Islin, Reg Hayward, Callum Ghosh, Michael Morgan, Jensen Graham, Alfie Thompson, Oscar Tuton, Josh Rudd, Ewan Charman, Rylan Eschberg and Wesley Swain. And we go lights out here for the final time this weekend at Shenington. And the Honda Cadet Cup round 8 is underway. Gibbons gets the initial advantage. Nakamura Berta, Duncan, then Rayburn there was a little bit of a tussle involving Freddie Hull. Freddie Hull was pushed a little bit wide there. Looked to be involving Cruz Speakman, I believe. So Freddie Hull had nowhere to go with the number 99 from Ambition ending up nigh on four wheels on the grass. As Nakamura Berta really trying to put pressure early on Gibbons. As Duncan, Rayburn. Now, what has happened? I'm just keeping an eye on where Ethan Simmons is at the moment, the number 23, part of the Young Racing Driver Academy. And is currently in with the Cutting Edge Racing stable. Lead is now coming around to complete lap number 1. 14 minutes and 2 seconds plus an additional lap. And I tell you what, you're going to have to keep an eye on this guy who we spoke to earlier on, Rylan Eschberg. He's already up 4 places, up to 4 places up to 29th. So Rylan Eschberg, who unfortunately was involved in an incident that caused him to not take part in the first final this afternoon, prompted a full restart. But Rylan Eschberg took 3rd place. He switched from Project One Racing to Ambition Motorsport and is instantly proving to be a very good friend to his teammates, but also a very good acquisition for the team as well. Led by team principal Paul James. But Mitchell Gibbons, at the moment, is still keeping... Well, it's game on yet again. And where is Ethan Simmons? He's currently in 5th place at the moment. And he's got just behind him, it looks to be Jack Hobson and Sonny Smith, Zach Drummond, Henry Jocelyn, who took pole in qualifying when it was an Ambition Motorsport 1, 2, 3... as there's more positions being gained. And you've got to watch out for the guys in 25th, 26th and 27th position. But another young driver on the move, one of the privateers, Callie Clifford, who's come flying back from the repechage earlier on today. She's now up into 13th and is ahead of fullback final number 2 winner Jaden Gregg from Heinz Racing. They round out the top 14. So, Rylan Eschberg currently has done a 52.77 as his best lap time. But obviously with traffic notwithstanding, it's going to be very difficult to try and make his way through as Ethan Simmons now up into 4th position and has got past Jack Hobson. A swarm of Honda Cadets go through Cafe Corner with the likes of Aidan Mitchell, Josh Rudd, Oscar Tuton, who's clawed his way up to 24th position. Stephen Duncan from Project One, unfortunately, is languishing a bit further down the order, right at the very back, to be honest. But the battle at the front, Gibbons versus Nakamura Berta, is quite clearly on. And when you consider what's happened in the championship thus far, they were equal on points coming into this race. And if it were to finish right now, Gibbons would make it a 3-point disadvantage into a 6-point swing, which would put him 3 points ahead of Keen Nakamura-Berta in the title fight. And they have pulled a huge gap over Connor Duncan. But it's not Connor Duncan that's in third. Ethan Simmons. He was on the podium back at Rissington a handful of weeks ago, but now he's back into third position. He climbed his way up to fourth, starting in 12th in the first final. And I tell you what, there is more changes. 10 positions gained by Rylan Eschberg from Ambition Motorsport. He's on the move. And I tell you what, he's only 8 seconds away from the leaders. We still have 10 minutes and 53 seconds plus an additional lap. No, make that 10 minutes and 45 plus an additional lap. Still to go. Coming to the conclusion of the first third of this Honda Cadet Cup second final of the weekend. And it is still even Stevens. You can't pull these two apart from each other. They are locked truly into battle as Ethan Simmons is up into third. That's a real good showing from the Young Racing Driver Academy stablemate of Jem Hepworth, who currently competes in the Rotax Championship. So Zach Drummond gets past Ben Rayburn for 7th position. Thomas Cucurulo Yeomans up into the top 10, as is Henry Jocelyn. Freddie Hull has unfortunately dropped down 7 positions as a result of the move that I think that Cucurulo Yeomans, he tried to go past around the outside of Hull. Hull had nowhere to go and went nearly 4 wheels onto the grass off of Pitts Bend. As the leaders now coming through the exit of Wilkins onto the main straightaway. They're going to come across the start-finish line. Nakamura-Berta and Gibbons pretty much even Stevens on pace. And I tell you what, Ethan Simmons has matched them on lap time. Connor Duncan, the fastest out of the top 4 by 1/100th of a second. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful coming out of Cafe Corner when they run wide. They're going to have to try and negate the fact that they might exercise due caution towards track limits. We've had a couple of warning flags already. We've had one to the number 6, and that is Sonny Smith, who's currently sitting in 6th position. We've had a warning flag for the number 35, and that's Zach Drummond. There's been a few other changes. Lewis Islin's dropped all the way down to 32nd. Cruz Speakman, in the meantime, is showing down in 31st, according to the timing screen. So there's been quite a few changes. And Sonny Smith has got past Jack Hobson for position. And he is leading a trio of Synergy Race Team karts. So Hobson and Drummond slotting in behind Sonny Smith. As Rudd getting very close there with Alfie Thompson. And goes around the outside of the number 82 going through Pitts Bend. So that was very good driving there from Josh Rudd. My apologies, who's the 82. And Alfie Thompson's the 87. But at the minute here, it's still very much even Stevens, I think, between the two at the front. As Nakamura-Berta has no answer thus far for Mitchell Gibbons. Gibbons, last week's English plate champion, and also he won the category here as the Shenington Super Prix, taking the SP plate. So he's not going to let the number 5 from Project One Racing get past him. We saw what happened in final number 1 when Nakamura-Berta put his race helmet in his hands after the flag, when it was literally a hair's breadth between him and Gibbons, but Gibbons took it. The pair come through the Bruno chicane. Now they power out on the quick right-hand kink through into Hangar Straight before they head to Hangar Corner. So we've gone past the half-time, the elapsed half-time of the clock ticking down, 7 minutes and 10 seconds, plus an additional lap left to go in this final race of the weekend. So Gibbons not letting Nakamura-Berta pass, no matter what the Japanese driver does, as the pair go line astern through Pitts Bend. Connor Duncan and Ethan Simmons embroiled in this battle for a position. And now, I have to say this, Rylan Eschberg, what a recovery. so far in the last 8 or so minutes. The number 73 from Ambition Motorsport, Ryan Eschberg, up 13 places to 20th. He's hit the top 20. That's real good showing. And I tell you what, there is still plenty more time for maybe even a top 15 finish from the youngster that made the switch just a few weeks ago to join Ambition Motorsport. We've had a warning flag for the number 87 there. And that is for Alfie Thompson, as Nakamura Berta and Gibbons are still not relenting. Neither wants to move aside. Neither wants to give quarter. And I tell you what, Gibbons is doing his absolute utmost to just look forward, not see where Nakamura Berta is. By keeping those blinkers on, Mitchell Gibbons could be definitely on road to victory. He's picked one up this weekend. Nakamura Berta got 62 points in the first final, so it would be a maximum score of 130 for the driver that was formerly the number 81, but now will be running with the English plate. 5 minutes and 18. Gibbons and Nakamura Berta. The stalemate continues. The who blinks first test, very much case in point, as it is with Ethan Simmons. And then there's also, well, there's been a bit of a gesticulation there for Ben Rayburn, who I think has just been, might have been compromised through an incident there. So you might have had the likes of Rayburn and Jocelyn around and Cucurullo Yeomans. So running order at the moment, Gibbons leads from Nakamura Berta by a hair's breadth, not even a tenth of a second. Ethan Simmons ahead of Connor Duncan. They're battling over third. Sonny Smith, Jack Hobson, Zach Drummond, Danny Shields, Ben Rayburn and Henry Jocelyn round out the top 10. Cucurullo Yeomans in 11th ahead of Greg Agambar, Bick, Yosakovs, Chewton, Charman, Clifford, Thompson, Eschberg, Swain, Gilman, Mortensen. But that has quite clearly changed as Henry Jocelyn is now in 8th head of Shields, Greg Agambar, Cucurullo Yeomans, Bick, Yosakovs and Rayburn rounding out the top 15. Then it's Chewton, Sharman, Clifford, Thompson, Swain, Eschberg now down into 21st, having been passed by the number 92. Mortensen, Gilman, Freddie Hull and Josh Rudd complete the top 25 head of Jai Lawrence, Reg Hayward, Callum Ghosh, Michael Morgan, Cruz Speakman, Aidan Mitchell, Lewis Islin, Stephen Duncan and Jensen Graham. We're getting into the last 3 minutes and 45 seconds of this race meeting, and the tension is still very high at the front of the field because Mitchell Gibbons has been putting on a masterclass and he is not relenting. He knows where to place that kart. He is keeping Key Nakamura Berta at bay. It's a repeat of what we saw, but the thing is that Mitchell Gibbons has not only done a number on Nakamura Berta last time out, he has been leading from lights out, and that is almost 12 minutes ago. They head through the Bruno chicane. The cat and mouse game continues. It's Ambition versus Project One, and behind it's Cutting Edge and Hines Racing, competing over what is effectively third position. Sonny Smith holding station in fifth. So the main thing is that when will Nakamura Berta strike to force Mitchell Gibbons to retaliate? Because it could happen. It's about strategy. It is about making that decisive move where you position the kart, when you decide to power out of the corner. Are you going to carry the momentum by using the outside line off of the racing line to swing the kart in, kiss the apex that little bit cleaner and get the run past your opponent coming out of the corner? Nakamura Berta hasn't quite done that yet, but there is still time. We've seen this before. We might see it again, but Mitchell Gibbons has just around 3 minutes to go, 3 or so minutes to go. We are into pretty much the final 2 minutes. That's 120 seconds plus an additional lap left to go. Mitchell Gibbons is still leading the way. I cannot believe how much of a composed drive this has been from Mitchell Gibbons. And Nakamura Berta, I think, might be feeling now that because the time's running out, is it going to be that the Japanese driver might feel a little bit powerless? Is he going to have to settle for second because he had no choice, because Gibbons pounced on him in the first final and got past him through the Bruno chicane? So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Right, red flag. Red flag with just over 90 seconds to go. So with 1 minute and 33 seconds plus an additional lap, we have just had a red flag incident for the third time here in Honda Cadet Cup this weekend. I can't give you an update, but I will give you the full order as of the... This could mean that we have a stop to the meeting early, as we are that far entrenched into the last final. At the moment of the red flag, Mitchell Gibbons was leading ahead of Keen Nakamura Berta, Ethan Simmons in third, Connor Duncan, Sonny Smith in fifth. When we have a further update, medics may be called, and they have been. If I can give you a further update before we end this broadcast, I will do so in due course. So please await our further information as we have a red flag situation here at Shenington. So for those listening on the Downforce radio stream, thank you very much for your patience. We have just been informed by the race director and clerk of the course that the meeting has been officially called. So we will now be ending our broadcast, but with one final time. I will give you the running order under such dramatic circumstances. Medical teams are on the way at the moment. Mitchell Gibbons wins by 0.05 because they went back to the previous lap, ahead of Keen Nakamura Berta. Ethan Simmons takes third, giving him another podium this weekend, ahead of Connor Duncan, Sonny Smith, Jack Hobson, Zach Drummond, Henry Jocelyn, Jaden Gregg, Danny Shields rounding at the top 10, ahead of Josh Agenbar, Gustav Susakos, Bradley Bick, Thomas Cucurullo Yeomans, Oscar Tewton, rounding out the top 15 with Ewan Charman, Alfie Thompson, Ben Rayburn, Callie Clifford, Wesley Swain rounding out the top 20 with Rylan Eschberg, 21st, ahead of Sonny Mortensen, Jacob Gilman, Freddie Hull, Josh Rudd, Jai Lawrence, Chris Speakman, Reg Hayward, Callum Ghosh, Aidan Mitchell, Michael Morgan, Lewis Islin, Stephen Duncan and Jensen Graham completing the 34-strong running order. So on behalf of Downforce Radio and also on behalf of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships, broadcasting live via Downforce Radio from Shenington Kart Racing Club in Oxfordshire, my name is Alex Goldschmidt, your commentator for this weekend and the official Downforce UK, Downforce Radio Communications Manager, bidding you good evening. Thank you very much for listening and stay tuned for the next exciting instalment of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships when we go live on Downforce Radio. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.